The night my father ordered me to apologize for being falsely accused of cheating, my sister was crying into the napkin I had paid for. "I never wanted any of this," Elise said. My father put one hand over hers. "Of course you didn't." Across the table, my mother stared at her untouched birthday cake as if it might provide a neutral opinion. Around us, 11 relatives and family friends performed the intense study of water glasses people do when they are thrilled not to be the one under attack. Dad looked at me. "Mara, end this." That was how Frank Bennett asked for an apology. Not please, not if you're ready. He said it the way he told me the porch light needed replacing. Then Daniel walked into the dining room holding my house key and the laptop bag he had taken when he stopped being my fiancé. Elise went still. Daniel looked thinner than he had 2 weeks earlier. He didn't look at me first. He looked at my father. "Can I use your screen?" he asked. Dad frowned at the television behind him. "For the slideshow?" "No." Daniel finally met my eyes, and the shame on his face frightened me more than anger would have. There's something everyone needs to see. 11 weeks earlier, my mother called while I was brushing my teeth and asked if I could come over because my father had misplaced her left sock. Not both socks, just the left one. "Is it possible it's in the laundry?" I asked around a mouthful of toothpaste. "I'm wearing the right one, Mara. That doesn't answer my question." From somewhere near her, Dad shouted, "Tell her I checked the dryer." He checked the dryer. Did he check the washer? A pause. Then my mother lowered her voice. "He's in a state." My mother had been home from hip surgery for 4 days. My father had spent those 4 days discovering that their house contained objects he'd never personally operated. The washing machine was apparently one of them. The coffee maker had also betrayed him, although it had 2 buttons and one was a clock. I rinsed my mouth and checked the time. 6:48. "I'll come before work. You don't have to." This was Linda Bennett's preferred way of asking me to do something. She would describe an emergency, assure me I didn't need to help, and then sound wounded if I agreed. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. When I came out of the bathroom, Daniel was awake, lying on his back with one arm over his eyes. "Sock emergency?" he asked. "You heard that?" "I heard your dad yelling about the dryer like it had taken a hostage. I pulled on yesterday's jeans. I'll be back by 8. That's what you said Tuesday. Tuesday involved a prescription. Tuesday involved your dad standing at the wrong pharmacy for 45 minutes because he refused to read the text you sent him. He was stressed." Daniel moved his arm and looked at me. His hair stuck up on one side, and for a second he was so familiar that I could almost pretend we were having one of our harmless arguments, like whether cilantro tasted fresh or like a cleaning product. "Your sister lives 12 minutes from them," he said. "She has that morning meeting." "What morning meeting?" "The regional thing. You have a morning meeting. Mine's at 9. He watched me put on my shoes. Daniel never rolled his eyes when he was angry. He became extremely reasonable, which was worse. "What time did Elise tell you about her meeting?" "She didn't tell me. Mom did." "Right. Please don't start. I'm not starting anything. Your family started something around 1997, and apparently it's still running." Despite myself, I laughed. Daniel smiled, but it didn't last. He sat up. "We were supposed to look at those listings over breakfast. We can do it tonight. We were supposed to do it last night." "I know. And then your dad needed you to explain the shower chair. He assembled it backward." "It's a chair, Mara. He made it dangerous." Daniel looked toward the ceiling. The man owned a hardware store for 32 years. He managed a hardware store. There's a difference. That got another reluctant smile. I leaned over to kiss him, but he caught my wrist before I could move away. "Tonight," he said. "Tonight. Not tonight unless Frank discovers Tupperware. Tonight, even if Frank discovers Tupperware." He kissed the inside of my wrist and let go. My parents' house was 6 miles away and somehow existed in a different climate. At our place, the trees were green and still. At theirs, one maple had already dropped wet leaves across the driveway where they clung to my shoes as I hurried inside. Dad had left the front door unlocked. "Don't do that," I called. "We're awake," he answered from the kitchen. "That won't stop a burglar." I'd like to see a burglar get past this mess." He said it proudly, as if clutter were a security system. Mom was stationed in her recliner with a blanket over her legs and her walker within reach. She wore a pink sock on her right foot and nothing on her left. Her silver hair had been brushed carefully, but she had put on lipstick without a mirror, leaving one corner of her mouth pointed upward. "You came," she said. "You called. I told you not to. You called me about one sock. It's the compression kind." Dad emerged holding a laundry basket against his stomach. He was a broad man who had recently developed the cautious walk of someone unwilling to admit his own knees hurt. He wore a hardware store polo even though the store had been sold 3 years earlier. "I've been through all this twice," he said. I lifted the blanket from Mom's lap. The missing sock was on her foot. It was beige instead of pink, and it had rolled down around her ankle. For several seconds, none of us spoke. Dad stared at it. "That wasn't there." Mom looked offended. "Frank, it's attached to me." "Well, you said left, and I was looking for pink." I said sock. "You're wearing 2 different colors," because I couldn't find the other pink one. Dad looked at me, waiting for arbitration. I pulled the beige sock up carefully. Case closed. He set the basket down. "You want coffee?" "I want to know if Mom took her morning medication." "She did." Mom said, "I didn't." Dad turned. "You told me you did. I asked if I should. You said, 'Do I take these now?' And I said yes. And then you went to find the sock." I closed my eyes. That was the thing about my parents. Their crises were usually absurd right up until they weren't. A lost sock could be funny. A missed blood thinner could not. Once I had verified her pills, labeled the containers in larger print, started laundry, and found the other pink sock stuck inside a pillowcase, it was 7:46. Elise arrived at 7:50 carrying a paper bag from the expensive bakery downtown. Her sunglasses were pushed into her blonde hair, and she wore cream-colored pants no sane person wore into a house with wet leaves and post-surgical equipment. "Oh, good," she said when she saw me. "You're here." Dad brightened. "Ellie brought breakfast. I brought almond croissants," she announced. Mom touched her chest. "You remembered." I was standing at the sink washing the cup Mom used to take her medication. "Elise," I said, "did you know Mom needed help this morning?" She opened the bakery bag. Dad texted that they were having a rough start. "He texted you?" "At 7:20, I think." I looked at Dad. He had called me at 6:48. "What?" he said. "You're better in the morning." "I'm better because I get up." Elise tore a croissant in half and gave Mom the prettier piece. "I would have come sooner, but I had to stop for these." "You didn't have a regional meeting?" I asked. She blinked. "This afternoon." Mom said it was this morning. Mom became fascinated by the layers of her pastry. "I may have misunderstood," she said. Elise leaned her hip against the counter. "Why are you interrogating everybody?" "I'm not." "You have your interrogation voice. I have one voice." "No, you have at least 4. This is the one where you already decided you're mad." Dad cut in. "Nobody's mad. Your mother has both socks, and we've got breakfast." That was Dad's idea of resolution. Announce that the visible objects were accounted for. Elise handed me the smaller half of her croissant. Peace offering. For what? Whatever I apparently did. She smiled. She had an incredible smile, warm, crooked, almost shy. It had been getting her out of things since she was old enough to point at broken lamps. I took the croissant because refusing would become evidence that I was difficult. "I need to get to work," I said. "Mom's pills are labeled. The laundry's running. Her physical therapist comes at 10. Dad nodded. "Can you be here for that?" "No." He talks fast. Ask him to slow down. I don't know what questions to ask. Elise can stay. My sister's expression changed before she could hide it. "I have to be across town by 11:30, she said. "The appointment is at 10, and sometimes they run late. It's home physical therapy. He's coming here." "I know that, Mara. Then what's running late?" "Life. Things. I can't predict every minute." Dad sighed as if I were forcing him to witness something ugly. "I'll handle it." Elise touched his arm. "I can come by after my meeting." "You've done enough," he told her. She had brought 4 croissants. I drove home with butter flakes on my shirt and called into my first meeting from the car. By the time I reached our apartment, Daniel had left for work. He had put a yellow sticky note on my laptop. Listings tonight. I love you. These can both be true. Underneath it, he had drawn a little house with smoke coming out of the chimney. Daniel was a terrible artist. The house looked like a toaster. I folded the note into my wallet instead of leaving it on my desk where I might have to look at it. That night, I opened the listings at 7. At 7:12, Dad called because the therapist had suggested installing a grab bar in the downstairs bathroom, and Dad considered drilling into tile an act of surrender. "We're not turning this place into a hospital," he said. "It's one bar, then you put one in your bathroom. I'm not recovering from surgery, neither am I." I glanced at Daniel across the table. He had stopped scrolling. "It's for Mom," I said. "Your mother agreed with me." In the background, Mom called. I said I didn't care. "Same thing," Dad said. It wasn't the same thing, but in our family it often became the same thing after he repeated it. "Let me look at the bathroom this weekend," I said. Daniel closed his laptop. "Saturday?" Dad asked. "Yes." "We're looking at houses Saturday," Daniel said quietly. I covered the phone. "It'll take 20 minutes. His face changed in a way I didn't understand until much later. Not anger, recognition. On the phone, Dad said, "Your sister mentioned a guy who does renovations. What's his name?" "Carl? Caleb?" I said. Across from me, Daniel went completely still. Dad continued talking, but I was watching the little toaster-shaped house fall out of my wallet and land between us. Daniel looked down at the note, then back at me. "Caleb," he said. My father was still talking into my ear. "That's it. Caleb. Ellie says he does good work. Dad, I'll call you tomorrow. We're talking now." "I know, but I'm in the middle of something." Daniel gave a short laugh without smiling. Dad heard it. "Is that Dan?" "Yes. Ask him what he thinks about drilling tile. I'm hanging up now. You don't have to get touchy. Good night, Dad." I ended the call and placed my phone face down, which was a symbolic gesture since it vibrated almost immediately. Daniel read the screen from across the table. "He says you're touchy. I inherited it. Apparently, Elise has Caleb's number." I heard. "Caleb Ruiz? As opposed to all my other ex-boyfriends named Caleb? That's an interesting way to answer." I pushed my chair back and picked up the sticky note. One corner had landed in a drop of salad dressing. I haven't spoken to him in years. Didn't he renovate that wine bar Elise likes? "I don't know. You mentioned it." "I mentioned the wine bar. I didn't know Caleb renovated it." Daniel studied my face. "You remember the man's birthday, November 3rd. I didn't ask. You were going to. I really wasn't. It was engraved on the watch I gave him. Dates stick in my head. We've been together 4 years, and you still think my birthday is the 17th. It's the 18th. It's the 17th. I stared at him. He let me suffer for 2 full seconds before smiling. "It's the 18th. That wasn't funny. It was a little funny. My phone vibrated again. This time it was Mom asking whether the blue pills could be taken with yogurt. Daniel opened his laptop. "Answer it. I don't have to. You're already reading it. That's different. It's really not." I typed, "Yes, as long as you actually take them," then turned off my phone. Daniel watched me do it. So, Saturday. "We meet Nina at the first house at 10. Your parents' place after. 20 minutes? 30? I'm generous." The listings had narrowed to 4 small houses in towns west of the city, each far enough from my parents to make spontaneous sock retrieval inconvenient. The one we were supposed to see Saturday had blue siding, a narrow backyard, and a kitchen that looked like it had been remodeled by people who feared color. Daniel loved it. I kept zooming in on the map. 47 minutes to my parents without traffic, 29 to my office, 36 to Elise. I had no idea why I checked the distance to Elise, possibly to confirm the laws of physics would still permit her to visit our mother. "This one has a room you could use as an office," Daniel said. "It faces the driveway. You face a brick wall now." "I like my brick wall." You complain about it every day. That's part of our bond." He reached across the table and took my hand. "We don't have to buy anything this second. We just have to start looking." "I know. Do you?" I pulled my hand away to close one of the listing photos. I said I did. "You say yes to things as a way of postponing no. That sounds like something printed on a pillow. It sounds like 4 years of trying to schedule a vacation with you." I stood and carried our plates to the sink. "We went to Savannah. For 3 days. Your dad called 11 times. He thought the basement smelled like gas. It was a dead mouse. He didn't know that at the time." "Mara, what did you want him to do? Strike a match?" Daniel came up behind me and rested his forehead between my shoulder blades. I was still holding both plates. "I want a home with you," he said. "One where every plan doesn't have to survive a committee that doesn't know it's a committee." I put the plates down. The hard thing about Daniel was that he could be annoying and right in the same breath. I turned around. "We'll see the blue house." "You promise?" "Yes, and we won't buy a bathroom for your father before we buy ourselves a front door." I frowned. "Nobody said anything about buying a bathroom. Your face did. My face has no purchasing authority. It absolutely does." I kissed him to end the discussion. It worked, but only in the legal sense. Saturday morning, we met Nina outside the blue house at 10. She wore a camel-colored coat and held a travel mug that matched it so precisely, I suspected real estate agents were issued color palettes. "You two are going to love the natural light," she said. The natural light revealed that every wall had recently been painted over without being cleaned first. There were fossilized hairs under the paint in the hallway and a small raised shape in the bedroom that Daniel insisted was a dead fly. "It could be a nail head," I said. "It has legs." "You're not supposed to touch the walls anyway," Nina called from downstairs. Daniel whispered, "Because they're load-bearing flies." I laughed so loudly, Nina asked if we had found something exciting. The backyard was barely wider than our apartment's living room, but there was a maple tree near the fence and a square of cracked concrete where Daniel said we could put a table. I stood beneath the tree and tried to picture ordinary Saturdays there. Coffee, laundry, Daniel swearing at a grill he claimed he knew how to use. No calls, no errands disguised as emergencies. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think the kitchen looks like an operating room. We can paint it. I think the upstairs bathroom is small. There are 2 of us. I think the road was louder than the listing said. A truck passed, proving my point with its brakes. Daniel put his hands in his coat pockets. "Do you like anything?" "The tree. We can make an offer on the tree." Nina appeared at the back door. "The sellers have 2 showings this afternoon, just so you know." That sentence followed us to my parents' house. Dad had placed 3 different drills on the dining table by the time we arrived. He had also bought a grab bar, though he kept referring to it as the handle, as if changing the noun reduced its medical implications. Mom sat nearby in her robe, eating crackers over a napkin. "You're late," Dad said. "It's 12:10. You said before noon. I said around noon. Same thing." Daniel looked at me but kept his face neutral. Dad showed us the downstairs bathroom. It was narrow, tiled in glossy cream, with a sink cabinet that swelled at one corner from years of moisture. The toilet paper holder was loose. The tub had a sliding glass door and a metal track high enough to catch a recovering foot. "The therapist wants something here," Dad said, indicating the wall beside the toilet. "But the stud's probably over here." He tapped 3 different tiles. "Did you use a stud finder?" Daniel asked. Dad gave him a look. "I know how walls work." "Sure." I crouched to examine the grout. The floor dipped slightly toward the tub, and the vanity door bumped the walker when Mom tried to come in behind us. "Careful," I said, standing. "I am being careful," Mom snapped. Her face tightened as she maneuvered around the door. She hated the walker. She hated being watched with the walker even more. Daniel moved the wastebasket out of her way without making a production of it. Mom noticed. "Thank you, sweetheart," Dad said. "The whole room's poorly designed." He said this as though a stranger had forced him to live with it for 26 years. Elise swept in just after 1, announcing herself before the front door had fully opened. "I brought lunch." Dad smiled at me. "See? Your sister's on top of it." Elise carried a cardboard tray with 4 coffees and a white bag containing 3 sandwiches. "There are 5 of us," I said. "I didn't know Daniel was coming." She was looking directly at him as she said it. "That still only makes 4 sandwiches," he said. For a second, she looked genuinely confused. Then she laughed and touched his arm. "This is why we keep you around." Daniel's eyes shifted to me. Mom said she wasn't hungry. Dad said he could split his. I took the tuna sandwich because everyone knew I hated tuna, which made it the uncontested choice. Elise came into the bathroom while I was taking measurements. "You're really doing this?" she asked. "I'm measuring. You could call Caleb." Daniel was in the hall. I heard his shoe stop squeaking against the hardwood. "How do you know what kind of work he does?" I asked. "He remodeled Vela." "The wine bar?" "Yes. It's gorgeous. Not exactly Dad's style unless he wants a bathroom with velvet stools, but Caleb does residential too." "Do you talk to him?" "I ran into him." "Where?" "At Vela." "You ran into the contractor at the place he renovated?" "He was fixing something." "Mara, it wasn't a date. I didn't say it was. Your face did." Apparently my face had formed its own government. Elise sat on the closed toilet lid. "He's married." "I know. To Nora. She seems lovely. I know who Nora is." I wasn't sure. "You do that thing where you act like everyone from your past died." I lowered the measuring tape. "Why are you pushing this? I'm trying to help. Then stay with Mom Tuesday afternoon so Dad can get his knee checked." Her mouth tightened. "I have work, so do I. My schedule isn't as flexible. Mine isn't flexible. I move things. You work from a laptop." Daniel appeared in the doorway. "So does air traffic control." Elise smiled at him. "You're in a mood today." "I'm hungry. Somebody forgot my sandwich." She got up from the toilet. "I'll order another one. I'm good. No, now I feel terrible." "You'll recover." She slipped past him and walked toward the kitchen, calling for Dad to tell her what sandwich he had ordered, even though she had been the one who ordered it. Daniel came into the bathroom and shut the door halfway. "She recommended your ex to remodel your parents' bathroom," he said. "I was standing here, and your mother apparently briefed her on our argument about his name. Mom didn't know we argued. Then she briefed her on him, and Elise supplied the rest for fun." I coiled the measuring tape. "Caleb is good at what he does. That sentence has layers." "Don't be gross. I'm not being gross. I'm wondering how we got from one grab bar to a remodel." I looked at the swollen vanity, the tub track, the walker wedged in the doorway. If they fixed this properly, Mom could manage without someone hovering. Dad, too, eventually. Your dad will use a bathroom renovation as an excuse to age. He'd use it if it looked like a normal bathroom. And who pays for this normal bathroom? I'm getting information. With your money face. What does my money face look like? Terrified and determined, like a raccoon about to steal a wallet. I laughed before I could stop myself. He reached out and tugged the end of my ponytail. "Blue house," he said. I remember. We left my parents at 2:20. In the car, Nina called to tell us the Blue House had received an offer. "We can still put one in," she said, "but the sellers want decisions by 5. Daniel kept his eyes on the road. I asked Nina to send the disclosures again. When I hung up, Daniel said nothing for almost a mile. It had painted over bugs, I said. 1 bug, and road noise. "You like the tree." "I didn't say I wanted to live in it." He tightened his hands on the steering wheel. "Do you want to make an offer?" The honest answer sat in my throat, small and ugly. I wanted the option to remain open without having to choose it. I wanted Daniel beside me, my parents stable, Elise useful, the house waiting, and nobody asking what came first. "I don't know," I said. He nodded once. "That's what I thought. We didn't make an offer." On Monday, Elise texted me Caleb's business number. Beneath it, she wrote, "I'll split whatever Dad needs. It can be our gift to him." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I saved the number. I didn't call Caleb that day. I carried his number through 3 work meetings, a pharmacy run, and a 40-minute conversation with Dad about why Mom's insurance statement was not a bill. By evening, I had built the call into something much stranger than contacting a contractor. Daniel found me standing in the kitchen with my phone in one hand and a bag of frozen peas in the other. Are you cooking those? Or seeking their advice? I'm thinking. Peas are notoriously impulsive. I put the bag in the freezer. Elise sent me Caleb's number. I assumed that would happen. She said she'll split the cost. That I did not assume. I showed him the message. Daniel read it twice. Get that in writing. It is in writing. Get it notarized. I'm calling him tomorrow. He handed back my phone. Okay. What would you prefer? A scene where I challenge him to meet me behind the wine bar. You were weird about it Saturday. I was weird about your sister being delighted to insert your ex into our afternoon. He's married. You keep saying that like I'm concerned he's going to abduct you in a remodeling van. What are you concerned about? Daniel leaned against the counter. That we lost a house on Saturday, and by Monday you were researching a different house that you don't even live in. That bathroom isn't safe. I agree. Then what's the problem? We don't know the price. We don't know the scope. We don't know if your parents even want it. They need it. That wasn't my question. I opened the freezer again, though I had nothing to put inside. Daniel reached around me and shut it gently. Call him. Get information. Just don't turn information into a $10,000 surprise while I'm brushing my teeth. That's very specific. I know you. The next morning, I called from my car outside the pharmacy. I had gone there because Dad insisted one of Mom's prescriptions had vanished from the refill list. It had not vanished. He was looking under Linda instead of Bennett and regarded this as a design flaw in the pharmacy's system. Caleb answered after 2 rings. Ruiz Renovation. His voice had changed less than I expected. It was deeper, maybe, but still carried that slight lift at the end of a greeting, as if he was prepared to be amused. Hi, this is Mara Bennett. There was a pause just long enough for me to regret every decision that had led to it. Mara, he said. Wow. Hi, how are you? Calling for a bathroom estimate? He laughed. Still great at small talk. I'm in a parking lot, and there's a man beside me eating soup in his truck. It's not an environment that encourages vulnerability. Fair. Is this for you? My parents. Elise mentioned they might need some work. Of course she did. She found me at Vela last month and spent 15 minutes explaining why the lighting was wrong. That sounds like her. She said you were engaged. I am. Congratulations. Thank you. She said you're married. 4 years. Nora runs the business with me. I remember Nora. Another tiny pause. Nora and I had met twice while Caleb and I were dating. Back then, she was his friend from trade school with strong opinions about permits and a habit of beating everyone at pool. Nothing had happened between them until years after we broke up, but memory did not care about the order of innocent facts. She handles estimates, he said. She'll be thrilled I remembered to mention that. I explained the bathroom, Mom's surgery, and Dad's resistance to anything that looked institutional. So no white plastic rails, Caleb said. He'd rather fall. We do wood-backed supports, recessed grips, wider entry if the wall allows it. It can look normal. That's the word I used. Because we're brilliant. Because we know my father. He offered to come Friday morning with Nora. Dad had a knee appointment at 10, which gave us a narrow window to inspect the bathroom without him patrolling the hallway and demanding to know why anyone was measuring his walls. After I hung up, I sat in the car for a minute. Talking to Caleb had been easy. Not emotionally dangerous, not charged, just easy in the way speaking to someone from an earlier version of yourself could be. He remembered my father before the pain and the defensiveness. He remembered me before I became the person who kept extra copies of her parents' insurance cards. I called Daniel immediately. He's coming Friday with Nora, I said. Good morning to you too. Good morning. Did you call him? Yes. And he's a contractor. It was devastatingly professional. Did he offer to grout anything inappropriate? I'm hanging up. Daniel laughed. I'm glad Nora's coming. You're weird about this. I'm human about it. There's a difference. Friday required more coordination than some weddings. Elise was supposed to drive Dad to his appointment while I stayed with Mom and met Caleb. At 9:20, Dad stood by the door in a jacket, jingling his keys. Where is she? She said she was coming. My appointment's at 10. It takes 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes when people know how to drive. Mom sat at the kitchen table in her robe, watching us over her coffee. You could take him, she said to me. I'm waiting for the contractor. Dad turned. What contractor? The man checking the grab bar. It doesn't take a contractor to put in a grab bar. Then why has the grab bar been on your dining table for a week? I'm considering placement. Mom took a sip of coffee. It's aging beautifully. At 9:32, Elise texted that she was 5 minutes away. At 9:41, she called me from the wrong end of our parents' street. Do they live before or after the house with the stone bird bath? You have been visiting this house for 26 years. I don't usually come from this direction. There are only 2 directions. Dad took the phone from me. Stay where you are. I'll find you. He left with the grim purpose of a man evacuating a city. Caleb and Nora arrived 6 minutes later in a dark blue van with no sinister remodeling abductions visible from the outside. Nora came in first carrying a clipboard and laser measure. She was small, athletic, and wore her black hair cut bluntly at her jaw. Caleb followed with a tool bag. He had more gray at his temples than Daniel, though they were the same age, and the beard he used to experiment with had become permanent. We all paused in the entryway. Then Nora hugged me. It has been forever, she said. You look the same. That's a lie, but thank you. Caleb gave me a one-armed hug that lasted less than a second. Hey. Mom had appeared at the end of the hall with her walker. Oh, my lord, she said. Caleb? Mrs. Bennett. You got old. Mom, what? He did. So did Mara. Caleb laughed and went to kiss her cheek. You haven't changed at all. I've got a titanium hip, other than your exciting new metals. Nora crouched beside the walker and asked Mom how she used the bathroom, what movements hurt, and whether she expected to return to the upstairs bedroom. Unlike Dad, Mom answered directly when someone treated her limitations as practical facts instead of personal failures. The bathroom was worse under professional attention. Nora found moisture damage behind the vanity. Caleb measured the doorway and confirmed it could be widened by several inches. They discussed replacing the tub with a low-entry shower, shifting the sink and adding support inside the wall so the rails could be chosen for appearance rather than bolted wherever studs happened to be. Mom ran her fingers over a sample image on Nora's tablet. This doesn't look medical. That's the goal, Nora said. What does something like this cost? We'll price a few versions. Mom looked at me. Your father will have a stroke. Then the grab bars can serve 2 purposes. She smiled, but her eyes filled so suddenly that I looked away to give her privacy. I hate needing all this, she said. Nora did not tell her she shouldn't. She nodded. Most people do. It was the right answer. Elise returned with Dad while Caleb was checking the plumbing access from the hallway. Dad stopped inside the front door. What's all this? Elise stepped around him, cheerful and innocent. Surprise. Dad stared at her. You knew? Of course. This is our birthday gift to you. Our? I said. She shot me a warning look. Dad's birthday was 7 weeks away. Apparently our secret had lasted until the first available audience. I don't need a bathroom for my birthday, he said. It's for both of you, Elise told him. Mara and I want to make things easier. Dad's face softened when she said it. Not because of the bathroom, because Elise wanted to do it. He looked at me next. You girls shouldn't spend your money. We're getting numbers, I said. Elise looped her arm through his. Let us do something nice. For one strange second, I was grateful to her. She made generosity look joyful. When I gave, it tended to resemble a hostage negotiation. Caleb and Nora finished measuring. Before they left, Nora explained that they would draft options and could meet us the following week while they were at the hotel builders conference. They were staying late Thursday because Caleb was speaking on a panel. Speaking? I said. Voluntarily? I've grown. He has slides, Nora said, with transitions. I take back every nice thought I had about you. Elise laughed too loudly and asked for the name of the hotel lounge. That evening, Daniel and I toured another house. It was a brick ranch with low ceilings and a finished basement that smelled faintly of wet cardboard. He hated the kitchen. I liked the quiet street. We stood in the empty living room disagreeing politely until Nina wandered outside to give us space. My parents know now, I said. That wasn't the question. I know. Did Elise confirm she's paying half? She announced it in front of everyone, also not the question. I crossed my arms. Do you like this house? No, neither do I. I didn't say we should buy it. Then what are we fighting about? Daniel looked around the empty room. Our voices had a hollow sound in there, as if a future family had already removed the furniture. I don't know, he said. Maybe I'm trying to figure out whether there's room for us in any house you choose. The estimate arrived Tuesday afternoon. The full version was $18,600. A reduced version came to $14,200. The basic safety work was just under $6,000. I forwarded all 3 to Elise. She reacted with a shocked face emoji. Then she wrote, "Call me." When I did, she answered in a whisper. Are they building a bathroom or importing one from Italy? You saw what needs to be done. I saw some measurements. You told Dad it was our gift. I thought we were talking about rails and maybe a new sink. We can choose the middle option. That's $7,000 each. Yes. Mara, I don't have $7,000 sitting around. You offered half before I even called Caleb. I offered half of a normal bathroom. It is a normal bathroom. You know what I mean. In the background, I heard a man ask Elise if she wanted another glass of wine. She covered the phone, answered him, then came back. I can do $1,500, she said. Maybe $2 if we wait until next month. You just said half in front of Dad. Why are you making this about percentages? Because half is a percentage. I'm still contributing. You're contributing the amount you picked after taking credit for the whole thing. She went quiet. Then her voice changed. Softer. Injured. I thought we were doing something together. I didn't realize you'd turn it into another test I could fail. I closed my eyes. When were you going to tell me? I asked. I'm telling you now. After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table with the 3 estimates open on my laptop. Daniel came home, kissed the top of my head, and glanced at the screen. She backed out, he said. Not completely. How much? $1,500. He pulled out the chair across from me. Mara, I could cover the middle option. From where? My savings. Our house? Savings? They're my savings. The words landed between us before I understood how they sounded. Daniel leaned back. I didn't mean it like that. You did, though. I reached for his hand, but he folded both arms across his chest. I just mean we don't have shared accounts yet, because we're saving to buy something together. This would make them safer. It would mean fewer calls, fewer emergencies. It might actually give us room. You're trying to buy your way out of saying no. I looked at the estimate again. Thursday's hotel meeting was printed at the bottom of Nora's email. 7 p.m. Lounge beside the conference hall. I'm getting the revised numbers, I said. That's all. Daniel stood. Tell me before you spend anything. I will. He waited until I looked at him. Mara, I promise. On Thursday afternoon, Daniel texted to ask if I wanted him to come to the hotel. I stared at the message longer than it deserved. You have the vendor dinner, I wrote. I can skip it. Don't. Nora will be there. I watched the typing dots appear, disappear, and return. I wasn't asking because I thought you needed a chaperone. I know. Do you? I typed 3 different answers before sending a heart, which was not an answer at all. The hotel lounge sat between the conference center and a restaurant that smelled aggressively of steak. Men and women wearing laminated badges drifted past carrying canvas bags full of catalogs. At one end of the lounge, a woman with an acoustic guitar was testing a microphone, while a bartender adjusted a small camera on a tripod. I chose a table far enough from the music that we would not have to shout. Nora arrived at 7 carrying a cardboard plan tube and a folder thick enough to defend herself with. Caleb followed with 3 drinks balanced in his hands. "I guessed iced tea," he said, setting one in front of me. "You remembered. No lemon. You remembered incorrectly." He took the drink back. I knew there was a citrus issue. Nora sat across from me. "He also thinks my coffee order is the cold one." "We've been married 4 years. It changes seasonally," Caleb said. "It changes by temperature." He went to find a lemon. Nora smiled after him, but when she opened the folder, she became all business. She had revised the plans to keep the plumbing on the existing wall, preserve part of the vanity, and replace the tub without moving the toilet. The new total was $12,800, not including paint. "I know it's still more than you hoped," she said. "The doorway and subfloor are the expensive pieces. If you only do rails now, you'll pay twice when you decide to open the room later. My father would happily pay twice if it meant refusing once." I remember. Caleb returned and slid the drink toward me. A lemon floated at the top. We went through each page. Nora had marked support locations in red and finishes in blue. The shower tile was a warm gray that looked nothing like a hospital. The grab bars resembled towel rails. The vanity could be repaired instead of replaced, though Caleb warned me that the swollen corner would never look perfect. "Neither does Dad," I said. "He's still functional." "Put that on his birthday card," Caleb said. The musician began her first song. She had a clear, low voice that softened the room without stopping conversation. Somewhere behind her, the camera's red light came on. Nora tapped the payment schedule, 30% to reserve the start date. We could begin demolition the Monday after Frank's birthday and be done within 8 working days if we don't find anything exciting in the wall. What counts as exciting? Termites. Bad wiring. A portal. "Price the portal separately," Caleb said. "Those are never in scope." I did the math on my phone. The deposit would be $3,840. Elise's entire contribution would not cover half of it. "I need to talk to Daniel," I said. "Of course," Nora replied. Caleb leaned back. "How is he?" "He's good." That sounded convincing. "He is. We're looking at houses." "Near your parents?" The question irritated me, even though it was reasonable. "Farther west." Caleb nodded slowly. "Frank loves change. He'll adjust. He's still using the same red lawnmower? It died." "I'm sorry, he has another one." "We held a service." Nora nudged Caleb with her foot. "Stop helping. I'm being warm." The first song ended. A few people clapped. I heard the hotel's front doors open behind me, followed by the sharp rhythm of heels. Elise appeared beside our table wearing a dark green dress and an expression of elaborate surprise. "Oh," she said, "you're still here." Nora looked at the plans, then at her. "We've been here 20 minutes. I thought the meeting was at 6. "You asked me twice," I said. "I said 7. "Did you?" Elise glanced toward the restaurant. "I'm meeting someone nearby." "At this hotel? Nearby means an area, Mara." Caleb stood and hugged her. Elise held on with both arms and looked over his shoulder at me. "It's so good to see you again," she said. "We saw each other last month." "I know, still good." She kissed Nora's cheek, pulled over an empty chair, and sat. "Did we solve the bathroom?" "We got it down to 12.8, I said. Elise's eyebrows rose. "That's down?" Nora explained the changes. Elise nodded at the right places, as though she intended to contribute more than 12%. When the bartender came, she ordered a glass of sparkling wine and put it on Caleb and Nora's check without asking. "So when do we start?" she said. "After Dad's birthday," I told her. "Perfect. We can present the plans at dinner. He'll love that. He already knows. He knows the idea. He hasn't seen the pretty version." She lifted one of Nora's renderings and angled it toward the lounge light. "Don't get anything on that," I said. "I'm holding paper, not plutonium. You have wine in your other hand. Mara has always believed I can't hold 2 things at once." I believe you can. I don't believe you'll clean up either one if you drop them. Caleb studied the ceiling. Nora pressed her lips together. Elise set down the plan. Okay, I'm joking. No, you're not. She drank her wine and turned to Caleb. This is what she's like when she's mad about money. I'm not mad about money. Then tell them I'm contributing. Nora glanced at me. Mara said you were. See, I also told them how much. Elise's glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Caleb suddenly became very interested in the payment schedule. You didn't need to do that, she said. They have to invoice us. Invoice Mara. I'll pay her. That's what I assumed. Then why tell them? Because it let me puncture the version of the evening where Elise and I were equal partners. Because I wanted two near strangers to know that I had not invented her promise. Because being generous had started to feel less important than being seen being generous. I don't know, I said. It came up. Elise smiled, but it was the smile she used when she wanted someone to notice she was forgiving a cruelty. $1,500 is still a lot of money for me. I know. Not everyone has your salary. You spent more than that on your trip. Nora lowered her eyes to the plans. Elise sat back. That trip was booked before Mom's surgery. I didn't ask you to cancel it. No, you just bring it up every time I don't do what you would do. I brought it up once. You don't have to say things more than once. You say them very efficiently. Caleb cleared his throat. Anybody want another drink? No, Nora and I said together. Elise finished hers. The musician began another song. People at the bar talked over the opening verse, and the camera remained pointed toward the lounge. Nora walked me through the contract while Elise scrolled on her phone. I did not sign. I told Nora I would confirm after speaking with Daniel, and she offered to hold the proposed start date until Monday. When we finished, Elise rose and smoothed her dress. I should go. Who are you meeting? I asked. A friend. What friend? She gave me a look. Do I need to submit a name for approval? No. Good. Are we telling Dad the final price? Not yet. And the amount I'm putting in? That's your business. It didn't seem like my business 10 minutes ago. She turned to Nora and Caleb. It was lovely seeing you. Then she walked toward the restaurant, though I noticed her stop near the lobby and look back at our table. Nora began rolling the plans. I'm sorry, I said. For what? This. She tucked the contract into her folder. We remodel houses. You think we don't understand families? Caleb had gone quiet. I looked at him. What? Nothing. Nora's expression softened. Tell her. He rubbed his thumb over the edge of his glass. My mom died in June. Everything in me stopped. What? It was fast. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis. Caleb, I thought Elise told you. Elise had not. She had told me Caleb's business number, the name of the wine bar he renovated, and that Nora seemed lovely. She had not mentioned the woman whose kitchen table I had eaten at for 3 years. I'm so sorry. She liked you, he said, even after we broke up. She asked about you whenever I saw Frank at the store. I pictured Elena Ruiz handing me containers of food because she believed no unmarried woman could feed herself. I remembered her correcting my Spanish and then laughing when Caleb corrected hers. I would have gone to the funeral. I know. Nora put one hand on his shoulder. For a moment, the years between us felt thin, not romantic, just cruelly thin. When we stood, I hugged him. He held me with one arm around my shoulders, and I pressed my cheek against his shirt. I'm sorry, I said again. Nora was beside us, sliding the last drawing into the tube. Over Caleb's shoulder, I saw Elise near the lobby doors. She was holding her phone at chest height. Then someone passed between us, and she was gone. At home, Daniel was still awake on the couch. His tie lay on the coffee table beside an open container of noodles. How was the vendor dinner? I asked. Long. How was Caleb? Nora did most of the talking. That was not my question. He's fine. His mother died. Daniel's expression changed. He knew enough about my history with Caleb to know what Elena had meant to me. I'm sorry. Elise knew and didn't tell me. Why would she leave that out? I don't know. I sat beside him and described the revised plan, the start date, and the deposit. I told him Elise had appeared. I even told him about the awkward fight over her contribution. I did not mention hugging Caleb because it had not occurred to me that the hug was information. Daniel listened without interrupting. 12-8, he said when I finished. Yes, and you'd cover 11-3. Yes. He rubbed both hands over his face. Do you want my honest opinion? Not especially. I think it's too much. I know. I also think you're going to do it. I looked down. He reached for my hand. If you do, we pause the house search for a month. We make an actual plan for what happens when your parents call. Otherwise, this isn't buying us room. It's just buying nicer tile. I squeezed his fingers. Okay, and you tell me before you sign. I said I would. I'm saying I believe you. The next morning, his phone woke us before 6. It vibrated once on the nightstand, stopped, then vibrated 3 more times. Daniel picked it up. The light from the screen washed across his face. He read something, opened an image, and sat up. What is it? I asked. He turned the phone toward me. The picture showed Caleb's arms around me in the hotel lounge. Nora had been cropped out. So had the plans, the folder, and almost all of the table. Above it was a message from Elise. Call me before you talk to Mara. She finally admitted what's been going on. Daniel looked at me. Admitted what? He asked. I didn't admit anything. Daniel lowered the phone but kept looking at me. She says you did. Elise lies. You told me she showed up at the hotel. She did. Did she confront you? No. She had 1 drink, picked a fight about money, and left. He looked at the picture again. You didn't tell me about this. About hugging him? Yes. His mother died. I know. You told me that part. Nora was standing right there. She isn't in the picture because Elise cut her out. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. There were 9 notifications, 2 messages from Elise, 1 from my mother, 1 from my father. The rest came from a family group chat that had been nearly silent since Christmas. Elise's message to me said, I gave you a chance to be honest. The second said, please don't make this uglier than it is. I called her. Daniel reached for my wrist. Wait, she told my parents. Mara, wait 1 second. I hit call. Elise answered immediately, breathing hard as if she'd been running. I'm so sorry, she said. You are going to call every person you told and say you lied. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed. Elise's voice trembled. I knew you'd do this. Do what? Attack me so nobody looks at what you did. You took a picture of me hugging someone whose mother died. It wasn't just a hug. Tell me what else it was. Silence. Elise. I saw the way you looked at him. You took a screenshot from a live stream. You were gone before I hugged him. I came back. No, you didn't. I was in the lobby. Then you saw Nora. I saw her packing up. She was beside us. That doesn't make it innocent. Daniel held out his hand for the phone. I turned on the speaker instead. Elise, he said. What exactly did Mara admit? There was a little intake of breath. I could picture her sitting up straighter, grateful for a gentler jury. She said she still loved Caleb. My whole body went cold. I never said that. She said she didn't know how to tell you. I did not speak to you after you left the table. You came into the lobby. No. You followed me because you were furious about the money. No. Daniel said my name quietly, asking me to stop interrupting. Elise continued. I didn't want to believe it either, but she said the bathroom gave them a reason to see each other. I have seen him once. That isn't what he told me. Caleb's name in her mouth made me pause. When did you speak to him? I asked. At Vela. Last month? Yes. Before I called him? I didn't know you were going to call him then. Did he say he was having an affair with me before I had even contacted him? I'm not doing this word game thing with you. It's called chronology. Daniel stood and walked toward the window. He put one hand on the back of his neck. I asked, Did you send him that picture too? No. Good. Nora might not appreciate you cropping her out of her own evening. I cropped the picture so Daniel could see what mattered. There it was. Not a misunderstanding. An edit. "Call Mom and Dad," I said. "Tell them." I told them the truth. Tell them you were at the table. Tell them Nora was there. Tell them about the bathroom plans. They know about the bathroom. Do they know that's what we were discussing? That doesn't explain the way you touched him. I looked at Daniel. "Are you hearing this?" He turned around, but his expression offered me nothing. Elise began crying. She did it quietly. No dramatic sobs, just small, broken breaths that made even me feel as if I had done something cruel. "I was trying to protect Daniel," she said. "From what?" "From being humiliated. You sent this to half the family before 6 in the morning, because I knew you'd twist it if I gave you time." "Elise," Daniel said. "Who else did you tell?" "Mom and Dad, Aunt Carol, Wendy." "Wendy?" I said. "You told Mom's neighbor? She was at their house. At 5:45 in the morning? She came over last night." The family group chat lit up again. Aunt Carol had written, "We love you both. Let's remember that." That was useful, since no one had asked her to stop. Dad called before I could answer. I ignored him. He called again. Daniel muted the phone on the bed. "Get dressed," he said. "To go where?" "Nowhere. I want to talk to you before you run over there. I'm not running anywhere. Your jeans are already in your hand." I looked down. They were. Elise was still on speaker, crying softly. "I'm hanging up," I told her. "Do not contact anyone else. I'm sorry you're angry. I'm not angry because you caught me. I'm angry because you made it up. I have the picture. You made the picture." I ended the call. Daniel sat beside me again. Outside, a garbage truck groaned down the street. Someone dropped a bin, followed by a shouted apology. The ordinary sound of it made our bedroom feel unreal. Daniel picked up his phone and enlarged the image. I could see exactly what Elise had chosen. Caleb's face was turned away. Mine was visible in profile, eyes closed, cheek against his chest. His hand was high on my back. If I had seen the photograph without knowing the moment, I would have understood the suspicion, but Elise knew the moment. "Why did you close your eyes?" Daniel asked. "Seriously?" "I'm asking. Because Elena died. And that made you hold him like this? Like what? Like someone you loved." "I did love him once." Daniel flinched. "Not now. Daniel, come on. You didn't think that was worth mentioning last night?" "No, because Nora was there and it lasted 5 seconds. You told me everything else about the meeting. I told you what mattered." His jaw tightened. I heard the words after they left me. They belonged to the same family language as Mom's not wanting to bother me and Dad's asking for help by naming a task. Daniel heard it too. "You decide that a lot," he said. "This is not the same thing. You decide what matters, you decide what I need to know, and then if I react to the part you left out, I'm unreasonable." "I did not cheat on you. I didn't say you did. You asked why my eyes were closed. Because I'm looking at a picture my fiancé's sister sent me with a claim that my fiancé confessed to loving her ex. She is lying. I think she's lying about the confession. The sentence should have comforted me. It didn't. You think? I'm trying to understand why she would invent the entire thing. Because she's angry about the bathroom. Because I exposed what she was paying. Because she hates when anyone sees the difference between what she promises and what she does. That's a reason to start a fight, not blow up your engagement. You don't know her. I have known her for 4 years. You know the version everyone protects. Daniel's phone buzzed in his hand. A new message from Elise appeared on the lock screen. Ask her how many times they met before last night. I laughed once. It sounded ugly. Call Caleb, I said. Call Nora. Ask them. I might. You might? Mara, I woke up 4 minutes ago. Dad called me a 3rd time. Then Mom. I stood. Daniel stood too. Don't go. I need to stop this. You are not going to stop it. You're going to walk into your parents' house furious. Your dad is going to tell you to lower your voice. Elise is going to cry, and somehow you'll end up organizing lunch. I'm not organizing lunch. That is not the important part. What do you want me to do? Sit here while she tells people I'm sleeping with Caleb? I want you to stay and talk to me. I told you the truth. No, you told me facts. That is different. I pulled on my jeans. I don't know what that means. It means you can account for every minute and still not let me near you. That is incredibly unfair. So is finding out from a picture that holding your ex was apparently the one detail from last night that didn't matter. My mother could see those messages. Your mother is an adult. She is recovering from surgery. And your father is there. Elise is apparently there. Wendy is there. The whole support system you keep insisting exists is physically in the house. I stopped with one shoe on. He was right, and I hated him for being right while the phone kept buzzing. I put on the other shoe. Daniel looked away. I'll come back, I said. I know. Something in his voice made me hesitate. He picked up my phone, which had started vibrating against the nightstand, and handed it to me without checking the screen. You always come back, he said. That isn't the same as staying. Dad met me at the front door in pajama pants and his old hardware store shirt. Your mother is sick over this, he said before I stepped inside. Good morning to you too. Don't get sarcastic. Elise sat at the kitchen table wrapped in Mom's blue robe. Her green dress from the night before was draped over a chair. Apparently she had not been meeting anyone she wanted to spend the night with. Mom was in her recliner. Wendy, her neighbor, stood behind it holding a mug with both hands. Mara, Mom said, tell us what happened. Elise lied. Dad shut the front door harder than necessary. We are not starting there. That is where it started. Elise's eyes were swollen and red. I knew you'd blame me. You told Daniel I confessed to an affair. I told him what I understood you to mean. You said I told you I loved Caleb. You said you'd always love him. I did not speak to you in the lobby. Maybe you don't remember. I stared at her. Wendy took one slow step toward the hallway. Dad said, Everybody is emotional. I'm not emotional. I'm being falsely accused of cheating. You're shouting. I'm talking louder because none of you hear me at a normal volume. Mom pressed her fingers to her temple. Dad pointed toward the kitchen. Look at your mother. I did. She looked tired, frightened, and embarrassed. She also looked at Elise before she looked at me. Mara, she said carefully, why would your sister say you admitted something if you didn't? The question hurt more than the photograph. Ask her. I am asking you. Elise lowered her face into her hands. Dad moved beside her and rubbed her back. That was the moment I understood evidence would not be enough. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I took out my phone and called Caleb. It went straight to voicemail. Elise looked up through her fingers. Dad said, Put that away. I'm calling the person I supposedly cheated with, not in front of your mother. Why? She's already heard the accusation. We are going to handle this privately. Wendy is standing 6 feet away. Wendy set down her mug. I was just leaving. No offense, I told her. None taken. I would have left 10 minutes ago, but my coat's under Elise. Elise stood so Wendy could retrieve it. The ridiculousness of that nearly broke me. Dad waited until the door closed. Then he lowered his voice. Whatever happened, you need to stop attacking your sister. Whatever happened? She was concerned. She fabricated a confession. She may have misunderstood. Elise nodded quickly. That's what I've been trying to say. 5 minutes earlier, she had insisted I said it. Now misunderstanding had arrived to carry her out. My phone rang. Daniel. I answered immediately. Are you at your parents'? He asked. Yes. He was quiet for a beat. I packed a bag, he said. Everything in the room went distant. For how long? I don't know. Daniel, I asked you to stay. I need an hour. No, Mara. You needed me to wait while you chose them again. The call ended before I could answer. When I looked up, Dad still had one hand on Elise's shoulder. I looked at his hand, then at Elise. Did you plan this? I asked her. Her mouth fell open. Plan Daniel leaving you? You sent the picture before 6 in the morning. You told him to call you before he spoke to me. I was afraid you'd manipulate him. By answering a question? Dad stepped between us. Enough. No, it isn't enough. She told a lie. Daniel is leaving me, and you're rubbing her back. She's upset. So am I. You're angry. That's different. The certainty of it stunned me. Elise's pain required comfort. Mine required containment. Mom shifted in the recliner. Please don't go over there and make things worse. Over where? Home? My home? With Daniel? Give him time to calm down. I laughed. I could not help it. You want me to stay here? I want everyone to stop reacting. Elise detonated my relationship before breakfast. I didn't detonate anything, Elise said. If one picture can destroy an engagement, that is not my fault. I stared at her. Dad said, she has a point. The room became very clear, the water ring under Wendy's abandoned mug, the crust of sleep in the corner of Dad's eye, Elise's bare feet tucked beneath Mom's robe. Every ordinary detail remained in place while something essential shifted under it. I walked to the door, Dad followed. Where are you going? To my house. Don't drive angry. I'll try to find a more convenient emotion. Mara. I opened the door. You need to think about your mother, he said. I turned around. For once, one of you can think about me. No one answered. Daniel's car was gone when I reached our building, but the apartment door was unlocked. One of his jackets was missing from the hook. So were his running shoes and the black duffel bag we used for weekend trips. His silver band sat on the kitchen counter. We had bought it after our engagement because Daniel said it seemed unfair that I should wear evidence of a promise while he walked around looking available. He'd made a joke about women approaching him in grocery stores. No woman had ever approached Daniel in a grocery store except to ask him to reach a high shelf. The ring lay beside a half-empty glass of water. I called him. He answered on the 4th ring. I'm sorry, I said. He exhaled. I could hear traffic. Are you driving? I pulled over. Come home. I'm going to errands. For how long? I told you I don't know. You packed a bag and left your ring. I didn't want to keep wearing it while I figured out whether we're still getting married. We are. The pause lasted too long. Daniel. I called Nora. I sat at the kitchen table. What did she say? That she was standing beside you. She said Caleb told you about his mom. You hugged him and nothing happened. Relief made me dizzy. Then you know. I know you didn't cheat with him last night. I have never cheated with him. I believe you. I pressed one hand against my forehead. Then why aren't you coming home? Because I asked you to stay and talk to me, and you put on your shoes. My sister was telling everyone I had an affair, and I was the person you were supposed to have cheated on. I needed to stop the lie. You needed to stop your family from having a bad opinion of you. That was more urgent than whether I trusted you. You were asking why my eyes were closed. I had known about the picture for 4 minutes. You didn't believe me. I called the other person who was there. That is what trying to believe someone looks like. I stared at the ring on the counter. So this is punishment? No, then what is it? It's me admitting that Caleb isn't our problem. A laugh escaped me. You left because my sister accused me of sleeping with him. I left because even when she did, you still ran toward your family instead of staying with me. They were spreading a lie. They have been taking pieces out of our life for years, and you keep calling each piece an emergency. Today was a huge one. Fine. What about the sock? What about the shower chair? What about the house we didn't buy? What about 11 calls in Savannah? I was helping them. You were choosing them. I can do both. You keep saying that while I get whatever is left. I looked around our kitchen. His coffee mug was in the drying rack. The bowl where he dropped his keys was empty. I'm sorry I left this morning, I said. Come home and we'll talk. I need you to want something different before I come home, not because I come home. What does that mean? I don't know yet. Don't do this in riddles. I'm trying not to say something final while I'm furious. You said you believe me. I do. Then Elise doesn't get to do this. His voice softened. This isn't Elise's decision. That hurt worse than if he had blamed her. After we hung up, I sat at the table until the sunlight moved from the floor to the cabinet doors. Caleb called around noon. I just spoke to Nora, he said. What the hell is happening? Elise sent Daniel a picture. What picture? From the lounge, us hugging. He was silent. She told him I admitted we were having an affair. What? She told my parents, too. Mara, I barely speak to your sister. She says you told her we had met before. I told her I hadn't seen you in years. That was at Vela. Would you tell my parents that? Give me their number. No. Why not? Because Dad would hear Caleb's eagerness as guilt. Because Elise would cry about being ganged up on. Because I had spent my life trying to win cases in a court designed to protect her. I don't want you involved. I'm already involved. Nora took the phone from him. I am happy to tell anyone exactly what happened, she said. I was there the entire time. I know. And if your sister posts that photograph publicly, Caleb and I will respond. She won't. I had no basis for that confidence. Nora's voice gentled. Are you okay? Yes. It came out automatically. No, she said. Try again. That nearly undid me. I don't know. Better. They offered to come over. I refused. I thanked them, apologized, and promised the bathroom situation would not affect their business. Nora told me not to think about the contract until Monday. By Sunday, everyone in my family had chosen a position. Aunt Carol believed there had been inappropriate emotional overlap, a phrase she had learned in therapy and was delighted to use on someone else. My cousin Beth said cheating was wrong, but family estrangement was worse, although I had done neither. Wendy texted me privately that she had always found Elise dramatic, then asked me not to repeat that. Mom wanted me to call Elise and speak calmly. Dad wanted me to stop using the word lie. Elise changed her claim without retracting it. She no longer said I had confessed to an affair. She said I had said enough to make the situation clear. When asked what that meant, she said the exact words were less important than my tone. Daniel stayed at errands. On Monday morning, Nora emailed to ask whether I wanted to keep the start date. The contract waited on my laptop while the deposit invoice remained unpaid. I did not sign it. At 11, Dad texted that Mom needed a ride to physical therapy because his knees were bad and Elise had a scheduling conflict. Ask Elise to reschedule, I wrote. He called immediately. You know, therapy can't be moved at the last minute. Elise's schedule can. She has a client. So do I. You work from home. I'm working right now. Mom's voice came faintly through the phone. Tell her it's fine. I'll skip it. Dad covered the receiver badly. Now she's going to skip it. The old reflex moved through me so fast I was already checking my calendar. I could move a review call. I could work through lunch. I could be at their house in 20 minutes. Then I looked at Daniel's ring. I can't take her, I said. Dad went quiet. What do you mean you can't? I mean, I am not available. It's your mother. I know who she is. You're punishing her because you're mad at Elise. No, I'm going to work. You never had a problem helping before. I did. You just didn't have a problem with it. He hung up. I spent the next hour reading the same paragraph in a report. At 12:15, Mom texted that Elise had taken her after all. See, she added, it worked out. The fact that it had worked out made me angrier than if they had missed the appointment. Daniel came home that evening while I was chopping an onion. For 1 second when I heard his key, my body believed everything was over. Then I saw the flattened boxes under his arm. I need more clothes, he said. I put down the knife. How was Aaron's? His couch is 6 inches shorter than I am. You can sleep here. I know. Neither of us moved. He packed in the bedroom while I stood in the doorway. Shirts, socks, the blue sweater I had given him. He left half of everything, which was somehow more frightening than taking it all. I told Dad I couldn't take Mom to therapy, I said. Daniel folded a pair of jeans. How did that go? Elise did it. Good. It didn't feel good? No, it probably felt like withdrawal. That sounds dramatic. You learn to be needed. They learn to need you. I leaned against the frame. I can change it. He stopped folding. I can, I said. I know you can. But I don't know whether you want to or whether you just want me back. Aren't those connected? They can't be the same thing. He zipped the bag. Are we broken up? I asked. He looked at me for a long time. I think we have to be. I wanted him to say it differently. Softer, maybe. Less clearly. He picked up the duffel bag and walked past me. At the front door, I said, if I had stayed that morning, would we still be engaged? Daniel rested his hand on the doorknob. Yes, he said, and we would still have the same problem. Then he left. Dad waited 2 more days before calling about his birthday dinner. I had already paid the catering deposit. Daniel had been assembling a slideshow from old photographs, and Mom had invited relatives before any of this happened. We are not canceling, Dad said. I didn't ask you to. Your mother wants you there. Then I'll be there. And Elise. It's her family, too. He hesitated, surprised I had not fought him. Then he said, I expect you to apologize to her before the dinner. I thought I had misheard him. For what? For accusing her of deliberately trying to destroy your relationship. She did. She misunderstood what she saw. She invented a confession. She has admitted her wording may have been imperfect. Her wording? We will not spend my birthday punishing your sister for trying to protect Daniel. I gripped the phone until my hand hurt. Dad continued, you don't have to apologize for everything, just for calling her a liar. That is the only thing I called her. Then it should be simple. I hung up without agreeing. Dad treated silence as temporary resistance. The next morning, he texted, have you called your sister yet? The morning after that, your mother isn't sleeping. Then, Elise has apologized for upsetting you. She had not apologized to me at all. Elise sent one message 3 days later. I'm willing to put this behind us because I don't want Dad's birthday ruined. I read it while standing in the grocery store holding a bunch of bananas. For some reason, that made it worse. My engagement was over, my sister was offering to forgive me, and I still had to decide whether 4 bananas were enough. I put 6 in the cart. Mom called mostly to discuss safe subjects, her physical therapy, the weather, a mystery charge on the cable bill that turned out to be a movie Dad had rented and fallen asleep during. She never mentioned Daniel directly. Instead, she asked whether I was eating. Yes, what? Food. Mara. Bananas. I have 6. That is not a meal. It is if you keep going. I heard her smile, then sigh. Elise says you won't answer her. She sent me one message that required no answer. She's trying. To do what? Keep the family together. I leaned against the kitchen counter. Daniel's ring still sat there. I had moved it twice to wipe underneath it, then placed it back in the exact same spot. Mom, she told everyone I cheated. She should not have involved everyone. She should not have invented it. She thought she saw something. She saw the bathroom plans. I know. She saw Nora. I know. She knew why I was there. Mom was quiet. That quiet said more than she intended. What did Elise tell you before she sent the picture? I asked. I don't remember. Yes, you do. She said she was worried. About what? You moving. The apartment seemed to tilt slightly. What does moving have to do with Caleb? I don't know. She was emotional. Did she say she thought Daniel would take me away from the family? Mara, I don't want to interpret her. You've spent 3 weeks interpreting her for me. Mom inhaled carefully. She feels like you make decisions and everyone else has to live with them. What decision? The house? The bathroom? Going farther west? We did not buy a house. No, but you were looking. Daniel and I were looking because we were getting married. I know that. Was Elise afraid she'd have to help you if I moved? That is an unkind way to put it. It's also a very specific one. Mom's voice hardened. Your sister has helped. She took you to therapy once after I refused. She has come by. With food? Sometimes? And then she leaves. People help in different ways. That sentence had covered more theft in our family than insurance ever could. I changed the subject before I said something Mom could carry back to Dad as another injury. 2 days later, I visited her. Dad was at the hardware store having coffee with men who still considered him their boss. Elise was supposed to be there, but she had canceled because a client moved a meeting. Mom had waited to tell me until I was already on the porch. "I didn't ask you to come because she canceled," she said. "You asked me to bring groceries. We needed groceries. You have delivery. Your father says they choose bad tomatoes. Dad thinks vegetables can sense fear." Mom laughed, then winced as she turned with the walker. The downstairs bathroom had not improved through neglect. The unopened grab bar still lay on the dining table. Dad had moved the wastebasket out of the doorway, but the walker caught on the vanity when Mom tried to enter. I watched her angle her body, lift one side of the frame, and squeeze through. "Don't," she snapped. "I'm not doing anything. You're making that face." Apparently I had more faces than a clock. "What face?" "The one where you decide you're right and it makes you sad." I looked away. Mom lowered herself carefully onto the closed toilet lid. "Your father can install the bar. He has had a month. He's waiting for his knees to settle down. His knees are not a labor dispute." She smiled despite herself. I crouched in the doorway. "Do you want the bathroom?" Her fingers tightened around the walker. "I don't want it to cost you and Daniel a house. There is no me and Daniel right now. I'm sorry." "Do you want it?" She looked at the tub track. "Yes," she said. I signed Nora's contract that afternoon and paid the $3,840 deposit from my savings. I told myself it was not for Dad, not for his birthday, and not another attempt to buy my way out of saying no. It was for the expression on Mom's face when she admitted she was afraid of her own bathroom. The lie was only partial, which made it easier to live with. Nora confirmed the start date for the Monday after Dad's dinner. Elise's name appeared nowhere on the contract. Daniel and I communicated through messages that could have been exchanged by polite coworkers. "Can I get the gray suitcase Thursday?" "Yes." "Did Nina send you the cancellation form?" "I signed it." "Your blender is at Aaron's. Accident. Keep it." Once at 1 a.m, he sent, "Are you awake?" I replied immediately, "Yes." The typing dots appeared for almost a minute. Then he wrote, "Never mind. Sorry." I called. He did not answer. By the week of Dad's birthday, Daniel had collected everything except a box of books, the slideshow files, and his key. I still woke at the edge of the mattress to leave room for him. The family group chat became a planning committee. Aunt Carol volunteered to bring wine. Beth wanted to know whether the caterer offered gluten-free rolls. Wendy asked if she was still invited, which was either sincere or the most elegant demand for gossip I had ever seen. Elise posted a photograph of the cake she had selected. I had ordered it 2 weeks earlier. "Looks perfect," Dad replied. I stared at the message until Mom texted me privately. "He knows you ordered it." That was supposed to help. The dinner was at my parents' house because Dad said restaurants rushed people. We rented a long table, padded chairs, and extra dishes. The caterer set up warming trays in the kitchen. I paid the remaining balance because the deposit was in my name, and changing it would have required speaking to my father longer than I could tolerate. Daniel had created most of the slideshow before we split. I assumed he would send the file. Instead, Dad told me Daniel was bringing it himself. "You invited him?" I asked. "He's been part of this family for 4 years. He is not part of it now. That's between you two. It is literally between us." He put work into the pictures. "What did you tell him about the dinner? That we are resolving things. We are not." Dad adjusted one of the rented chairs. "You said you'd come. That is not resolution. You're exhausting when you want to be. I learned from a professional." He ignored that. Elise arrived in a soft blue dress carrying a gift bag. She kissed Dad, hugged Mom, and nodded at me as if we were opposing attorneys in a courthouse hallway. She had brought a framed photograph of herself with our parents. Dad placed it on the mantel immediately. I gave him the bathroom renderings in a flat box. He opened them, looked at the warm gray tile and widened doorway, then frowned, You signed for this? Work starts Monday. How much? It's handled. His eyes flicked toward Elise. She lifted both hands. I told Mara I could only do $1,500. She had not paid even that. Dad looked back at me. You shouldn't be spending money right now. Happy birthday. Mom touched the picture of the low-entry shower. It's beautiful. That was enough for me. Dinner began at 7. Daniel did not arrive. At 7:40, Dad opened gifts. At 8, the caterer cleared the plates and set down the cake. 11 relatives and friends filled the room with the careful brightness of people who knew there had been a scandal but had not yet received permission to discuss it. Dad stood at the head of the table. I want to say something before cake. My stomach tightened. He thanked everyone for coming. He praised Mom for handling surgery with grace, although she had thrown a shoe at him during her second week home. He called Elise his sunshine. Then he looked at me. This family has had a difficult few weeks, he said, but family means having the humility to move forward. Elise lowered her eyes. Dad continued. Mara has something she wants to say to her sister. No, I don't. The silence was immediate. Mom whispered my name. Dad's smile stayed in place. We discussed this. You discussed it. Do not do this tonight. You brought it up tonight. Elise picked up her napkin and pressed it beneath one eye. I never wanted any of this, she said. Dad covered her hand with his. Of course you didn't. Aunt Carol studied her water glass. Beth reached for her wine. Wendy did not even pretend not to watch. Dad looked at me. Mara, end this. The doorbell rang. No one moved at first. Then Daniel stepped into the dining room carrying his laptop bag. He wore the charcoal shirt I had bought him for our last anniversary. In one hand, he held my house key. Elise went still. Daniel looked at Dad. Can I use your screen? For the slideshow? Dad asked. No. Daniel's eyes found mine. There's something everyone needs to see. He connected his laptop to the television. His hands shook once, barely, while he changed the input. The screen filled with the hotel lounge. Not a photograph, video. The frame was wide enough to show the stage, the tables, Nora beside me and the cardboard plan tube leaning against her chair. At the bottom of the screen was a date and time. Dad looked toward Elise. Daniel pressed play. The room filled with music, glasses clinking, and my recorded voice saying, my father would happily pay twice if it meant refusing once. A few people glanced at Dad. He did not react. On screen, Caleb returned with my lemon. Nora opened the bathroom plans. We discussed tile, plumbing, and the deposit. Then Elise walked into the frame. She wore the same green dress and carried the same glass of wine she had claimed not to remember clearly. On the recording, she hugged Caleb, kissed Nora, and pulled a chair to the table. Daniel let the video play while we discussed the price, the revised design, and her $1,500 contribution. When recorded, Elise said, then tell them I'm contributing. The Elise at the dinner table closed her eyes. Dad shifted in his chair. Daniel did not look at anyone. He stood beside the television with one hand resting on his laptop. The video continued through our argument. My voice sounded harsher than I remembered. Elise's sounded softer. She was good at that, even when speaking to a camera she did not know existed. On screen, I mentioned her trip. She accused me of turning everything into a test. Then she stayed while Nora reviewed the contract, asked when the work would begin, and reminded me not to tell Dad the final price. Daniel paused the video. This is $728, he said. Elise knew why Mara was at the hotel. She knew Nora was there. She knew they were discussing the bathroom. Aunt Carol cleared her throat. I don't think anyone disputed the bathroom. I did, Elise said quickly. I told everyone they were using it as an excuse. Daniel looked at her. You told me Mara had been meeting Caleb before this. She could have been. You said he told you. I may have misunderstood him. You said Mara confessed. Elise's face tightened. Play the rest. So he did. On the television, Elise finished her wine, said goodbye, and walked toward the lobby. The wide angle captured her stopping near the doors and turning back toward our table. The timestamp read 7:46. Daniel increased the playback speed. People moved around the lounge in quick, unnatural bursts. Nora and I bent over the contract. Caleb stacked glasses. Elise remained near the lobby long enough to raise her phone, then disappeared through the doors. Daniel slowed the video again at 7:52. Caleb told me his mother had died. The microphone was not close enough to capture every word, but his voice carried when he said, "My mom died in June." My recorded face changed. Nora put her hand on his shoulder. We stood. She was not merely in the room, she was close enough that her sleeve touched his arm when I hugged him. The photograph Elise had sent was inside that frame, surrounded by all the information she had removed. Daniel paused on the hug. No one looked at me. They looked at Elise. "She cropped Nora out," he said. "She cropped out the plans. Then she told me this was proof." Elise's cheeks were streaked with tears, but her voice stayed steady. "I saw what I saw." Daniel advanced the recording. The hug ended. Nora handed me my purse. I stayed at the table with them for another 12 minutes. The camera showed the lobby in the background. Elise never returned. At 8:05, Caleb and Nora walked toward the conference elevators. I left through the side entrance leading to the parking lot. Daniel stopped the video. "There was no confrontation in the lobby," he said. "You don't know that," Dad replied. Every head turned toward him. Dad's face had gone red. "A camera doesn't show every corner. It shows the lobby doors," Daniel said. "Elise left 19 minutes before Mara. She could have come back another way." Elise stared down at the table. Daniel asked, "Did you?" She didn't answer. "Elise," Mom said. "I was upset." "That's not an answer," I said. Dad shot me a warning look, even now. Daniel closed the video window, leaving the paused image of the hotel lounge behind it. "I called Nora that morning," he said. "She told me what happened. I knew by then Mara hadn't cheated." Aunt Carol looked confused. "Then why did you two break up?" Daniel's eyes moved to me. "That is between Mara and me." For once, Aunt Carol accepted a boundary without decorating it. Daniel continued, "But I let everyone keep believing the accusation was true. I was angry about other things, and correcting it felt complicated. It wasn't complicated. I should have done it immediately." "You didn't owe us an explanation," Mom said. "I owed Mara one." His voice broke slightly on my name. He recovered before I did. I found the full recording because the cropped image had part of the lounge logo in the corner. The hotel archives the music nights online. Elise could have found it too. "I didn't know there was a live stream," Elise said. "That isn't the defense you think it is," Daniel replied. Dad pushed his chair back. "All right, we've seen it." "No," I said. "We've seen what she did. I want to hear why. This is not the time. You made this the time when you ordered me to apologize. It's my birthday." "Yes, Dad." "That seems to be the only fact you're processing," Mom whispered. "Mara." I looked at Elise. "Why?" She wiped beneath both eyes with her napkin. Her mascara had not moved. Mine would have been on my chin by then. "I thought you were leaving," she said. The answer was so small that I almost missed it. "For Caleb?" "For everything." She looked around the table, as though the relatives and rented dishes had trapped her. "You were looking at houses almost an hour away. You were going to marry Daniel, move west, and leave Mom and Dad here. Then you decided to redo their bathroom like that solved it. It would help. It would help you feel less guilty." The words landed cleanly because they were partly true. Elise leaned forward. "You make yourself responsible for everything, and then everybody has to be grateful. You keep score. Every appointment, every grocery trip, every time I show up 10 minutes later than you wanted, you offered half the bathroom because you had already decided to do it. You suggested Caleb. I suggested a contractor. I didn't tell you to spend $13,000. No, you just told Dad it was our gift." Dad raised a hand. "This is getting off track." "It is the track," Elise said, surprising him. Nobody says no to Mara because then she does it herself and looks exhausted until we all feel terrible. I stared at her. For years, I had wanted her to admit she saw what I did. I had not imagined she would describe my exhaustion as an act of aggression. You could have helped, I said. I did help. You brought food. People need food. You brought 4 sandwiches for 5 people. Daniel looked down. It was not funny, but Beth made a small choking sound into her wine. Elise's mouth trembled. See? You remember every little thing. Because every little thing became my job. And you liked that. The room went silent again. I wanted to deny it. Instead, I heard Daniel saying, "You learned to be needed." I liked being useful, I said. That isn't the same as liking being used. You made us depend on you. I did not make you tell everyone I cheated. No. Her voice dropped. I panicked. You invented a confession. I thought if Daniel knew you weren't as perfect as he thought, he never thought I was perfect. Daniel said, "Definitely not." A startled laugh moved around the table and died just as quickly. Elise looked at him. You were going to take her away, and then everything would fall on me. There it was. Not Caleb, not morality. Logistics. You could have said you were scared, I told her. Would you have stayed? No. Her face folded. Then what difference would it have made? The difference between being my sister and destroying my engagement. I didn't destroy it, she said. He said you didn't break up because of the picture. Daniel flinched this time. She saw it and kept going. You had problems already. Everyone knows that now. No, he said. You created a crisis inside problems that belong to us. You don't get to use them as permission. Dad stood. Elise was afraid. She did something reckless, and she's admitted that. I admitted I panicked, Elise said. I did not admit the hug was appropriate. I laughed. Dad pointed at me. Don't. What would you prefer? Gratitude? I would prefer one evening where this family does not tear itself apart. You were fine with me apologizing for her lie. I was trying to move us forward. You were trying to move me backward into my seat. Mom closed her eyes. Dad looked toward the cake. One candle had burned low enough to drip wax onto the frosting. Can we please finish my birthday? He asked. I stared at him. The video had proved his younger daughter fabricated an affair because she was afraid she might have to take their mother to physical therapy more often. His concern was cake. Of course, I said. Your birthday survived. I picked up my purse. Mom reached for me. Don't leave like this. How should I leave? I don't know, not angry. I'm working with the emotions available. Daniel disconnected his laptop. Relatives suddenly found jobs. Beth collected plates that did not need collecting. Aunt Carol asked whether the coffee was regular or decaf. Wendy cut herself a piece of cake before anyone offered, which made me like her more. Outside, Daniel followed me to my car. The night was cold enough that our breath showed. I'm sorry, he said. For which part? All of it. He held out my key. I looked at it in his palm but did not take it. Why tonight? I asked. Your dad called me about the slideshow. He told me you were going to apologize, so you searched for the video. I had already found it. How long? 4 days. That hurt. You waited 4 days? I kept thinking I should send it to you. Then I thought about all the people who got the cropped picture, and sending it privately felt like asking you to carry the correction too. I took the key. Thank you for showing it. He nodded. That doesn't fix us, I said. I know. The fact that he knew made me want to cry. Behind us, the front door opened. Dad called my name. I turned. He stood on the porch, arms folded against the cold. The caterers need to know what to do with the extra food, he said. For a second, Daniel looked as if he might say something. I touched his sleeve to stop him. Ask Elise, I told Dad. Then I got into my car and drove away while he was still standing there. I drove home with Daniel's key in the cup holder and both hands gripping the wheel. At the second red light, my phone began vibrating inside my purse. It stopped, started again, then continued in short bursts until I pulled into the apartment lot. Dad had called twice. Mom had called once. Aunt Carol had sent a paragraph beginning, "Tonight was painful for all of us." Elise had written, "I hope you're happy." Daniel's message was the only one I answered. "Home," I wrote. He replied, "Good." I carried his key upstairs. His silver band was still on the kitchen counter, exactly where he had left it. I put the key beside it. The two objects looked staged, as though a photographer had arranged them for an article about failed promises. I poured a glass of water and stood in the dark kitchen drinking it. A few minutes later, headlights swept across the wall. A car door shut outside. For one stupid second, I thought Daniel had changed his mind. It was my upstairs neighbor coming home with a pizza. I went to bed wearing my clothes. Mom called at 9 the next morning. "I waited until a reasonable hour," she said. "That is very considerate. I know you're angry. I'm running out of new ways to confirm that." She sighed. "Your father didn't sleep. Was he worried about the leftover food?" "Mara, I'm sorry. That was mean." "It was." Neither of us spoke. Through the phone, I heard a cabinet close and the low murmur of the television. Dad was probably watching one of the home renovation programs he hated because, according to him, nobody on television knew how much lumber cost. Mom lowered her voice. "Elise left early." "Where did she go?" "Home." "Good." She was devastated. "Mom, I am not excusing what she did. You asked me why she would lie instead of asking her why she was lying. I didn't know. The plans were on the table. Nora was in the picture before Elise cropped her out. You knew that meeting was about the bathroom. I knew the story didn't make sense." I sat up. "What?" Mom went quiet again. "You knew?" I suspected she was exaggerating. She fabricated an affair. I didn't know how far she had gone until the video. "You heard her say, 'I confessed.' I thought maybe the two of you had spoken and understood the conversation differently. How can I never spoke to her be understood differently? I was trying not to take sides. You took one. I tried to keep everyone calm. You let Dad demand that I apologize. He gets fixed on an idea. So do parking boots. We still remove them. That isn't fair. No, Mom. Fair would have been one person in that house saying, 'Mara has never given us a reason to believe this.' You closed your eyes in that picture. I almost hung up. She heard it in my silence. I'm not saying it meant anything," she rushed on. "I'm saying the picture was upsetting. It was designed to be upsetting. I see that now. You saw it then. You just didn't want to deal with Elise if you admitted it." Mom's breath caught. That was the truth. I knew because she did not argue. "I was recovering from surgery," she said, "and I was losing my engagement. What do you want me to say? I want you to say you knew Elise's story didn't make sense, and you stayed quiet because I was easier to hurt." Her voice became small. I knew it didn't make sense. The admission gave me no satisfaction. It entered me like cold air. "Thank you," I said. "Mara, I have to go. Wait, the contractors come Monday." "Yes. Your father says he may not let them start. The deposit is paid. He thinks the family should settle down before we make changes to the house. Those things are unrelated. You know your father." Everyone said that to me, as if knowing him were a duty that exempted him from knowing anyone else. "They will be there at 8, I said. "Nora has the contract. I'm not canceling." "Will you be here?" "No." Mom was silent. "Nora knows what she's doing," I continued. "Caleb knows what he's doing. Dad can call them with construction questions. I meant for me. I know. It took everything I had not to offer." "I'll call you Monday evening," I said. After we hung up, I moved Daniel's ring and key into the drawer where we kept takeout menus. Then I spent 20 minutes searching for a restaurant coupon I knew had expired, because apparently grief required paperwork. The family group chat stayed quiet until Aunt Carol posted a photograph from Dad's dinner. In it, he stood behind the cake with one arm around Mom and the other around Elise. I was visible at the edge, cropped at the shoulder. Carol captioned it, "Families bend but don't break." Wendy responded with a thumbs up. Beth left the group. I considered doing the same, but that would have produced phone calls about what leaving meant. Instead, I muted it for a year. Daniel came by Sunday afternoon for his books. He knocked, even though he had returned the key. I let him in and watched him kneel beside the box in the living room. "You packed these?" he asked. "Yes. You put my tax guide on top of my Raymond Chandler. I wanted you to suffer. Cruel." The ease between us appeared for a second, so familiar that I nearly stepped into it. He picked up the box. "Your parents okay?" he asked. My mother admitted she knew Elise's story didn't make sense. Daniel's expression tightened. "I'm sorry. Dad might block the renovation tomorrow. Are you going over there?" "No." He waited, as if he expected the rest. "That's it," I said. "I'm not going." "Good. Don't sound proud. It makes me want to do something self-destructive. I'll keep my face neutral." He did, badly. I leaned against the wall. "Were you hoping the video would change something between us?" He looked down at the box. "I was hoping it would change what happened to you." "That isn't what I asked." "No." The word sat there. He adjusted his grip. "I wanted to be the person who fixed it. Then I realized that was about me, so I tried to just correct it. You waited 4 days." "I know." "Why?" "Because the video proved you didn't cheat. It didn't prove I was wrong about us." I folded my arms. He continued. "And I was afraid if I sent it, you'd think I was asking to come home." "Were you? I miss you every hour." My throat tightened. "That still isn't an answer." "No," he said. "I wasn't asking. Honesty could be much crueler than lying." He left with the books. At 7:58 Monday morning, Nora texted, "We're here. Frank is standing in the doorway." I replied, "Contract holder says proceed. Linda wants the work." 3 dots appeared. Understood. "Will be charming." At 8:12, Dad called. I let it ring. At 8:14, he called again. At 8:17, Mom called. I answered hers. "Your father wants to talk to you." "I don't want to talk to him. He says Caleb can't begin until the bathroom is cleared. Caleb's crew was supposed to clear it. Your father says he already did." "Then what's the problem?" In the background, Dad shouted, "The problem is strangers are tearing up my house." I heard Caleb say, "Morning, Mr. Bennett." Dad said, "Don't morning me." Mom whispered, "It's tense." I gathered. "Could you come for 10 minutes?" "No, you don't have to stay. I'm not coming." Dad took the phone. "This is your project. It's your bathroom. I told them we're postponing. You can reimburse the deposit." "How much?" $3,840. He became quiet. "That's outrageous. It's 30%. You paid that without telling me? It was your birthday gift. I didn't ask for it. Mom did. This house belongs to both of us. Then the two of you can discuss it. You created this mess. I hired professionals to remove a tub. I am talking about the family. I'm not." He hung up. At 9, Nora sent me a photograph of the old vanity sitting in the driveway. Demolition has begun. Frank gave us coffee and explained tile to Caleb for 20 minutes. We appear to have survived. I laughed at my desk so suddenly that I frightened myself. By noon, Mom called to ask where the extra towels were. At 1, Dad asked whether the new shower valve was brass. At 2:30, Elise texted, "Mom can't get upstairs without someone beside her." The renovation plan included a temporary wash setup downstairs, but the only full shower was upstairs until the new one was finished. Nora had gone over that twice. I replied, "Then stay beside her." Elise called. "What is wrong with you?" she asked. "I'm working." "So am I." Then call Dad. Dad's trying to keep the contractors from putting the controls on the wrong wall. They have plans. Mom needs help. Help her. I have a client call at 3. I have had client calls during every appointment I took her to. That was your choice. There was no apology in her voice, no shame, just irritation that I had stopped absorbing consequences. "Yes," I said, "it was." I ended the call. At 6, Mom texted that Elise had helped her shower and stayed for dinner. The same thing happened Tuesday, then Wednesday. By Thursday, Dad stopped calling me with construction questions and began calling Nora directly. Mom arranged grocery delivery. Elise moved 2 client meetings and took her laptop to my parents' kitchen. The house did not collapse. On Friday evening, someone knocked on my apartment door. Elise stood in the hallway wearing old jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair pulled into a knot. There was dried grout or plaster on one sleeve. "What are you doing here?" I asked. She looked past me into the apartment, noticing the empty spaces Daniel had left. "I brought your mail. That goes to Mom and Dad's house. You still get some things there." She held out 2 envelopes. One was an advertisement. The other was a bank privacy notice. "You could have thrown these away." I wanted to talk. "I don't." Her face tightened. She looked exhausted in a way I had rarely seen because exhaustion required staying after the photographs were taken. "Mom cried in the shower," she said. My anger shifted but did not disappear. Was she hurt? No. She hates needing help. I know. Elise looked down at the plaster on her sleeve. "You wanted me to have to do it," she said. "No. I wanted you to understand that someone had to." "Well, congratulations." She raised her eyes to mine. "I understand." "Understanding isn't the same as being sorry," I said. I didn't say it was. Elise stood in the hallway as if she expected me to either hug her or slam the door. I did neither. "What do you want?" I asked. "To explain. You've explained. You panicked. I moved too far west in a house I never bought, so you invented an affair. That's not what I mean. It's what happened." A door opened down the hall. My neighbor stepped out holding a trash bag, saw us, and immediately decided the trash could wait. I moved aside. "Come in before somebody starts pretending to check their mail." Elise entered. Her eyes went to the kitchen counter where Daniel's ring had been. Then she noticed the gap on the bookshelf, the missing jacket by the door, and the pale rectangle on the wall where one of his framed prints had hung. I didn't know he moved everything out. He didn't. Some of it was mine. She sat at the table. I remained standing. "Do you want water?" "No." "Good. Mara, I'm not going to make this comfortable for you. I didn't ask you to. You brought 2 pieces of junk mail to my apartment. I needed a reason to come. You had one. You could have come to apologize." Her face twisted. "I am trying." "Then try the sentence." She looked down at her hands. I waited. "I'm sorry you and Daniel broke up." "No, I am. That is something that happened. Apologize for something you did." Elise pushed one thumbnail under the other. She used to do that before piano recitals back when Dad paid me $5 to sit in the front row and smile at her because she got nervous. "I'm sorry I sent the picture," she said. "And I'm sorry I cropped it." "And?" She looked up. "Do you have a checklist?" "Yes." The answer surprised her. "I'm sorry I told Daniel you confessed. You didn't tell only Daniel. I'm sorry I told everybody, that I cheated, that you cheated. And was that true?" "No." The word came out almost soundless. Again. "No, it wasn't true." I pulled out the chair across from her and sat. Elise wiped both palms on her jeans. "Are you enjoying this?" "No, you look like you are. I look like Dad when he's angry. That's true. Don't make me laugh." I wasn't trying. We sat in silence. A pipe knocked inside the wall. The refrigerator switched on. Without Daniel's things, the apartment made sounds I had never noticed. "Why the confession?" I asked. "The picture might have created a fight. You made up a confession because you wanted him to believe it." Elise's eyes filled. "I wanted him to stop the move. We weren't moving yet. You were looking. So once you start doing something, it happens. Everyone knows that. The bathroom took 2 months. Because Dad fought you. It still happened. You could have asked me not to move. I did. When? Every time I said Mom needed you. That is not asking. That is using Mom as a leash. I knew what you'd say if I asked directly." "What?" "That you deserved your own life." "I do." "I know." Her voice cracked. She pressed her knuckles to her mouth, then lowered them. You make it sound simple, like you were carrying all of us and wanted permission to put us down. But I was in this family too, Mara. Every time Dad called you first, I heard that he trusted you more. Every time you fixed something after I tried, I heard that I'd done it wrong. You often did it wrong. I know. The bluntness surprised both of us. Elise gave a miserable laugh. See? I don't know what you want me to say. That sometimes you didn't give me room to get better. You didn't show up. Sometimes I didn't show up because you were already there. Mom needed someone, and you needed it to be you. Daniel's voice returned. You learned to be needed. I looked away. Elise continued more quietly. Dad made you responsible. He made me helpless. You think I got the better part because nobody expected anything from me. You did get the better part. I got the easier part. That isn't always better. You were protected. I was never respected. That stopped me. Dad called me capable. He called Elise sweet. He trusted me with medication and money and decisions. He trusted her to improve the mood. She had enjoyed that role. She had also been trapped inside it. None of it explained the photograph. You still made a choice, I said. I know. You watched me lose Daniel. I thought he'd confront you. I thought you'd explain the hug, and then he'd be angry about the secret meeting and the money in the house. I thought you'd postpone everything. You thought you could create the amount of damage you wanted. She nodded. When he left, why didn't you tell the truth? Because then everyone would know what I did. They know now. I know. And you still told Dad the hug was inappropriate. Her shoulders dropped. I was trying to keep one piece of ground. There is no ground. You lied. I know. No but? No but. I took out my phone and opened the family group chat. What are you doing? She asked. Giving you room to get better. I slid the phone across the table. Write it. Her face went pale. They saw the video. Not everyone was at the dinner. And since then, Dad has told at least 3 people it was a misunderstanding. How do you know? Aunt Carol texted me that grief can distort perception. Elena's grief? I have no idea. Elise stared at the open message field. What do you want me to say? The truth. Without passive voice. You really are enjoying this a little. Less every second. She picked up the phone. Her first draft began, I owe everyone clarification. No, what's wrong with clarification? It sounds like a press release. She deleted it. Her second draft said, I misunderstood what I saw at the hotel. I reached for the phone. Fine, she snapped. I know. Her thumbs moved. I accused Mara of cheating on Daniel. That accusation was false. I knew she was meeting Caleb and Nora about Mom and Dad's bathroom, and I cropped Nora and the plans out of the picture. Mara never confessed to an affair. I lied about that because I was angry and afraid she would move away. I'm sorry. Elise read it twice. Then she pressed send. The message appeared in the chat. 3 dots began flashing almost immediately. I muted the conversation again. Elise handed back my phone. Is that enough? No. She nodded as if she had expected that. It is something, I said. Her mouth trembled. Before she left, she transferred $1,500 to me. You don't have to, I said. I said I would. You said half. I don't have half. I know, I'll pay more over time. I don't want to be your creditor. You already are. I did not argue. At the door, she turned back. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I don't know. That's fair. It was the first time either of us had used that word correctly. The bathroom was finished the following Wednesday. Nora sent photographs before the crew cleaned up. The new doorway was wide enough for Mom's walker. The shower tile looked warmer in the house than it had on paper, and the dark metal supports resembled intentional fixtures instead of warnings. Caleb repaired the vanity corner so well I could only find the old damage because I knew where to look. I paid the remaining balance. Dad did not thank me. He texted, "Controls are on opposite side from original." I replied, "Yes." He wrote, "We'll take getting used to." I replied with a thumbs up. Mom invited me to see it Friday evening. I almost said no. Then she added, "Just see it. No errands." When I arrived, a grocery delivery sat on the porch. Dad opened the door. "You walked past those bags," he said. I did. "They're ours." I assumed. He waited. I waited longer. Finally, he carried them inside himself. 2 bags in each hand, his knees stiff. I followed without taking any. Mom was in the new bathroom, admiring herself in the mirror. "Look," she said, turning her walker easily, "I don't hit anything. That's generally the standard for a doorway." She gave me a sharp look, then smiled. The room was beautiful. More importantly, Mom moved through it without apology. She stepped into the shower and demonstrated the bench, the controls, and the rail Nora had placed exactly where her hand naturally reached. "It doesn't look old," she said. "It looks expensive," Dad called from the kitchen. "It was expensive," I answered. He appeared in the doorway. "Your sister says she's paying you back." "She contributed." "How much?" "That's between us." His mouth tightened. "Everything is between us now. Yes, we used to talk. You used to assign." Mom touched the new towel rail. "Can we not fight in the bathroom?" Dad ignored her. "You embarrassed Elise in front of the entire family. Daniel played the video. You let him. I didn't know he had it. You could have stopped him. Why would I? Because she's your sister, and I'm your daughter." He looked tired, not softened, just tired. "I protected this family the best way I knew how," he said. "You protected the person who made the most noise. You never needed protecting." The sentence came out before he could inspect it. Mom closed her eyes. I felt the old reflex rise to explain why that was wrong, to make him understand, to stay until he admitted it. I let it pass. "I'm not taking Mom to therapy anymore," I said. "I'm not handling prescriptions, groceries, laundry, or your appointments. I'll visit once a week if we plan it." Dad stared at me. "For how long?" "That is the arrangement. You don't arrange your parents." I just did. Mom sat on the shower bench. Dad said, "This is because I won't denounce your sister." "No, it's because you saw the truth and still asked what I could have done to hide it." His face reddened. "You'll change your mind. Maybe. Don't plan around it." I kissed Mom's cheek and left before either of them could give me something to carry. The lease renewal notice was waiting in my email when I got home. Both my name and Daniel's were on it. I called him. "We need to decide what to do with the apartment," I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you want to keep it?" I looked at the empty hook by the door, the gap on the bookshelf, and the drawer holding his ring. "No," I said. "I think I want somewhere that belongs to the person I am now." I think that's right. It hurt that he understood. We agreed to meet Saturday morning to sign the notice declining renewal. After we hung up, I opened a rental map. For the first time in my life, I searched by distance from my office instead of distance from my parents. The closest listing to my office was a studio above a restaurant that advertised live jazz 5 nights a week. The photographs showed exposed brick, original floors, and a bedroom separated from the kitchen by optimism. I saved it anyway. The second apartment was in a converted factory beside the river. It had enormous windows, no closets, and a monthly parking fee that made me angry on principle. The third was 12 minutes from work and 53 from my parents. I stared at that number. Then I scheduled a tour. Daniel arrived Saturday morning with 2 coffees and the lease notice printed in duplicate. I didn't know which printer setting they wanted, he said, so I brought every possible version. He placed 6 pages on the kitchen table. "Were you always this anxious?" "Yes, you were busy." He handed me the coffee made exactly the way I liked it. I hated how quickly my fingers recognized the temperature. We sat across from each other and signed our names at the bottom of the notice. Our lease would end in 6 weeks. The apartment that had felt permanent a few months earlier now had an expiration date. Daniel capped the pen. "Have you found anything?" "I'm seeing a place this afternoon." "Where?" I told him the neighborhood. "That's close to your office." "Yes, and not close to your parents." "No." He smiled slightly. "Don't," I said. "I didn't say anything." "Your face did." My face has limited purchasing authority. I laughed into my coffee. The laughter faded, but the warmth it left did not. Daniel gathered the extra copies into a neat pile. I'm glad you're choosing for yourself. I'm not sure I am. What do you mean? I keep wondering if I picked the neighborhood because it's farther from them. That's still letting them decide. Distance isn't a moral statement. Sometimes it's just mileage. You didn't used to think that. I thought 47 minutes was the minimum safe distance from your dad's Tupperware crisis. It was a valid concern. He looked toward the kitchen counter where his ring was no longer sitting. Do you still have it? I knew what he meant. I opened the takeout menu drawer and took out his silver band. Daniel rolled it between his fingers. This is a strange place to keep an engagement. It was between Thai Garden and a coupon for free breadsticks. Romance survives. I had taken off my own ring after the birthday dinner. It was in the zippered pocket of my purse because putting it in a drawer had felt too final, and wearing it had felt dishonest. I brought mine too, I said. You don't have to give it back. I know. I set the small velvet box on the table. Neither of us touched it. Daniel looked at me. I want to say something, and I don't know if it helps. That's a strong opening. I made your changing sound like a condition of loving you. You said you needed me to want something different before you came home. I did need that, but I also used leaving to force the issue. My sister had just accused me of cheating. I know. You believed me, and you still made that morning about everything I had done wrong. His face tightened. Yes, it was not the answer I expected. I thought you'd defend yourself, he said. I thought you'd stay, fight with me, tell me I was an idiot, something. When you left, every old resentment I had felt proven. I was terrified. I know that now. I thought if I could make them admit she lied, then I could come back and fix us. And I thought if you chose me in that moment, it would fix all the times you hadn't. We sat with that. The coffee between us cooled. I'm sorry, I said. I did keep you outside, not because I didn't trust you, because if I admitted how bad things were, I would have had to do something. I know. That doesn't make it better. No. You keep agreeing with me. It's unsettling. I've been practicing. I looked at the velvet box. What happens now? Daniel's thumb moved over the edge of his band. You tour an apartment, he said. I figure out where I'm living after Aaron remembers he has boundaries. We stop using marriage as a prize for fixing ourselves. That sounds suspiciously healthy. I hate it. Me too. He stood and collected the papers. At the door, he hesitated. Can I ask you to have coffee sometime? You just brought me coffee. Can I ask you to have coffee when we're not ending a lease? My first instinct was yes. My second was to make him wait because I had waited. Neither felt honest. After I move, I said. Daniel nodded. After you move. The 12-minute apartment had a narrow balcony overlooking a parking garage and enough kitchen cabinets to store food plus several emotions. The bedroom had morning light. The bathroom door closed without striking anything. The leasing agent kept pointing out the building's fitness center, although the room contained one treadmill and a plastic fern. I work out at home, I told her. She looked at me, then at the space around us. Yoga? Mostly carrying other people's problems. She did not laugh, which made me miss Nina. I applied that afternoon. When I told Mom, she asked the distance from her house. 53 minutes. With traffic? Without. That's far. It's not another state. Your father won't like it. I didn't submit him as a reference. She made a sound that might have been a laugh if she had not swallowed it. Is there an elevator? Yes. Parking? Yes. A safe entrance? Yes, Mom, good. She paused. I'm happy for you. The words sounded effortful, which made them matter. Elise texted 20 minutes later. Mom says you found a place. Do you need help packing? I considered ignoring her. Then I wrote, Kitchen, Sunday, at 10. She arrived at 9:57, carrying boxes, tape, and 2 coffees. You're early, I said. Document it. I will. She worked for 4 hours. Not performatively, not with music blasting while she wandered off to answer messages. She wrapped dishes, labeled boxes on 3 sides, and threw away expired spices, only after asking. When her phone rang, she declined the call. At noon, we ate sandwiches on the living room floor. "There are 2, she said. I counted. Growth." She smiled without expecting forgiveness from it. "How are Mom and Dad?" I asked. "Mom's good." The bathroom made a huge difference. "And Dad?" "He complains about the shower pressure because he can't complain about the work. That tracks. He has a knee appointment next Tuesday. Are you taking him?" "Yes." "Do you need?" I stopped. Elise waited. "No," she said. "I moved my meeting." The old impulse to offer backup remained in my chest, searching for an exit. I ate another bite instead. Elise peeled the label from her water bottle. "Dad keeps saying you'll get over it." "I know. He thinks the move is dramatic." "I know. I told him it wasn't. That surprised me." "What did he say?" "That Daniel got in my head." "Daniel is not living here." I pointed that out. "How did that go?" "He asked me to leave." I looked at her. "I didn't," she said. Mom needed her laundry moved. There was pride in her voice, but not the old kind. Not "look what I brought." More like "look what I stayed through." "I'm glad you're helping," I said. She studied the label in her fingers. "I wish I'd helped before." "I do too." That was as close as we came to tenderness. My application was approved Monday. I sent Daniel a photograph of the balcony. He replied, "Good light." Then, after a minute, "Congratulations, Mara." I typed, "Thank you," and resisted adding anything that would turn the moment into a test. Mom began handling her own medication schedule with a phone alarm Nora had shown her how to set. Dad started doing the grocery orders, which resulted in 12 cans of chickpeas and no coffee because he confused quantity with package size. Elise returned half the chickpeas and bought coffee on her way over. No one called me. The absence felt peaceful for approximately 3 days. On the 4th, I began wondering whether they were struggling and hiding it. On the 5th, I checked the weather near their house as though rain required my supervision. On the 6th, I called Mom during our planned Sunday window and heard Dad in the background asking if I knew where he had put the property tax statement. "I do not," I said. "You filed it last year," he called. "Then it's wherever your filing system says taxes go. My filing system changed. Ask Elise." "She doesn't know." "Then the 2 of you can look." Dad muttered something. Mom lowered her voice. "He misses you. He misses knowing where the tax statement is. Both can be true." I had no answer for that. She asked about the apartment. I described the balcony and the bedroom light. "Will you give us a key?" she asked. The question caught me. No. What if there's an emergency? The building has management. I mean, a family emergency. A key to my apartment will not solve something at your house. I suppose not. She sounded hurt, but she did not argue. Move-in day arrived cold and bright. I hired 2 movers with a truck, which Dad considered an insult to every man in the family with functioning arms. Elise came to clean the empty kitchen. Daniel arrived to collect the last of his mail and ended up carrying lamps because one of the movers had underestimated how many I owned. At the new apartment, he set the toaster-shaped, sticky note on the counter. I had found it inside my wallet while packing and put it in a box of office supplies. He must have seen it. "You kept this," he said. "I forget to throw things away. You threw away cumin from 2019. Elise made me." He smiled. The movers carried the couch in at an angle that appeared physically impossible. Daniel and I stood by the balcony door, temporarily useless. "This place suits you," he said. "You've seen one room. It has a door that locks. So did the old place. This one feels like you chose it." I looked at him. "Coffee?" He glanced at the boxes. "Now, you asked after I moved." His smile arrived slowly. "Then yes." We drank coffee from paper cups on the floor because I could not find the mugs. We did not discuss rings, marriage, or whether he might stay. He left before dark. It was not reconciliation. It was the first thing between us that did not require a name. Mom visited the following weekend. Elise drove her and waited downstairs at a cafe because she said. "You two should talk without me changing the weather." Mom walked through every room, opened the empty linen closet, and admired the view of the parking garage with heroic determination. At the door, she held my hand. "I failed you," she said. I looked at her. She did not soften it. "I knew Elise's story was wrong. I let your father decide that keeping her calm mattered more than defending you. I did the same thing for years. Why? Because when you were hurt, you kept functioning." My eyes burned. "And when she was hurt?" I asked. "She made it everyone's weather." I laughed through the first tear. Mom squeezed my fingers. "That doesn't excuse me." "No, I'm sorry." I hugged her carefully, mindful of the healing hip she no longer needed me to monitor. When she left, she did not ask for a key again. Dad did not come. For 3 weeks, he communicated through Mom, Elise, and occasional messages about the bathroom warranty. I answered practical questions and nothing else. Then, on a rainy Thursday evening, my building intercom buzzed. The leasing office said, "There's a Frank Bennett here. He says he's your father." I stood in the middle of my new living room, looking at the locked door. Did he say what he wants? A pause. "He says he brought your mail." I almost laughed. Instead, I pressed the button to let him upstairs. A minute later, Dad knocked 3 times. I opened the door. He stood in the hallway wearing his old hardware store jacket, rain beaded across the shoulders. In one hand, he held 2 envelopes and a home goods catalog. In the other, he carried a paper grocery bag. "You didn't say you were bringing groceries," I said. "They're not groceries. What are they?" "Things. That usually means groceries." He looked past me. "Are you going to make me stand out here?" "I haven't decided." His jaw tightened. For a second, I saw the familiar sequence preparing itself. He would become offended. I would explain why I was entitled to hesitate. He would call my explanation disrespectful. I would let him in just to end the argument. Then he surprised me. "All right," he said. "I can come another time." He shifted the bag and turned. "Dad." He stopped. I opened the door wider. "Come in." He wiped his shoes carefully on the hallway mat, then removed them anyway. His socks did not match. One was gray, one black. I chose not to mention it. Dad stepped inside and surveyed the living room. I had assembled the bookshelves, unpacked most of the kitchen, and bought one plant that was already developing brown tips under my care. "This is smaller than the old place," he said. "Hello to you, too." I didn't say worse. "You didn't say hello." He set the mail and bag on the counter. "Hello." "Hi." He nodded toward the windows. "Good light." "That's what Daniel said." Dad glanced at me, then away. The grocery bag contained a coffee mug wrapped in newspaper, a red-handled screwdriver, a container of Mom's chicken soup, and the toaster-shaped sticky note. I picked up the note. "How did you get this?" It was stuck to the bottom of the bathroom plans. "Your mother found it. I had it here." "Then that's a different one." I looked more closely. This house had a crooked chimney and 4 square windows. Daniel had drawn little curtains inside 2 of them. Underneath, in his handwriting, were the words, "Houses are still true when plans change." I folded the note once. "He gave that to Mom?" I asked. "He came by last week." My chest tightened. "Why?" "To apologize. For what?" Dad studied the screwdriver in the bag. "Being involved in family business. He wasn't involved. He corrected it." "I know." It was the first time Dad had said those words without immediately explaining why knowing changed nothing. "Did you apologize to him?" I asked. "No." "Of course not." I said I wasn't ready. "Daniel doesn't need your apology." "No." Dad looked at me. "You do." The apartment became very quiet. Rain moved against the windows in fine, steady lines. Somewhere in the building, an elevator door chimed. Dad pulled out one of the kitchen stools. "Can I sit?" "Yes." He sat with both hands on his knees. His jacket made a faint wet sound when he moved. I remained standing. He looked older in my apartment than he did in his own house. At home, he was surrounded by objects that confirmed him. The chair nobody else used, the thermostat he controlled, the old store calendar still hanging by the phone. Here, he was just a 65-year-old man with damp shoulders and bad knees. "The bathroom is good," he said. "I know. Your mother can use it by herself. That was the point." "I know." He was using those two words carefully now, as if practicing with a dangerous tool. "The shower controls are on the right side for a reason," he continued. Caleb explained it. "I'm glad. He's a decent man. Was that in question?" Dad's mouth pulled slightly to one side. "I suppose I made it sound like it was. You tried to argue the camera might have missed a secret affair. I was looking for a way things could be less bad. For Elise. For me." That answer made me sit across from him. Dad rubbed one knee. "When Daniel played that video, I knew immediately," he said. "Not just that she was wrong. I knew she had done it on purpose." I waited. "I saw her at that table," he continued. "I saw Nora. I heard Elise talking about the plans. There was no misunderstanding. You still defended her." "Yes." "Why?" He looked toward the grocery bag. "Because if I admitted what she did, I had to admit why she thought it would work." "What does that mean?" "She thought everyone would believe her because everyone usually protects her." "You mean you protect her?" "Yes." The word sat between us. Dad had always been good at apologies that avoided nouns. Sorry things got heated. Sorry feelings were hurt. He had rarely placed himself inside a sentence where blame could find him. "I asked you to apologize," he said, "because I knew you could survive it." I felt my fingernails press into my palm. "That does not make it better." "I know. It makes it worse." "I know. You thought, Mara will absorb this too." "Yes." The anger I had rehearsed for weeks suddenly had nowhere to go. He was not fighting back. "That's what you've always done," I said. "You gave me things because I could carry them, and you gave Elise excuses because she couldn't. I thought she couldn't. You never made her find out." "No." "And you called that love." Dad looked down at his mismatched socks. "My father had two categories," he said. "Useful and trouble. I spent most of my life making sure I was useful. That isn't an excuse. I'm not giving you one." His voice was quiet. "I like that you were like me," he continued. "You figured things out. You didn't fall apart when something went wrong. I thought that meant I raised you well. You raised me to believe being loved and being useful were the same thing." He closed his eyes briefly. "Yes." I had expected denial. The agreement hurt differently. "Do you know why I did the bathroom?" I asked. "For your mother." "Partly." "For me, even though I fought you." "Partly." He waited. "I thought if I made the house easier, you'd need me less. I spent almost $13,000 because I didn't know how to say I wanted to leave." Dad's expression changed. "I told myself it was generous," I continued. "Some of it was. Some of it was me trying to purchase permission. You didn't need my permission. I know that now." He nodded slowly. "Does it work both ways?" "What? Can something be generous and still hurt people?" I leaned back. "You mean protecting Elise?" "Yes." "No. Lying for her was not generous. I mean before that." I understood. All the calls to me instead of her. All the tasks handed to the daughter, most likely to complete them. The way he had spared Elise failure by making sure I arrived first. "It might have started that way," I said. "It stopped being generous when you refused to see what it cost me." Dad accepted that without argument. His phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out and looked at the screen. "Your mother," he said. My body reacted before my mind did. "Is she okay? She can't find the warranty for the shower valve." I waited for him to hand me the phone. He did not. Dad typed slowly with one thumb. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "That it's in the blue folder under the phone. You know where it is?" I filed it. "Under what?" "Bathroom." I smiled despite myself. Revolutionary. He put the phone away. Elise has been coming 3 days a week, he said. I know. She reorganized the refrigerator. That sounds dangerous. She put the mustard in the vegetable drawer. Did you arrest her? I moved it back. She's trying. She is. He hesitated. She apologized to me. For blowing up your birthday. For making me choose. I looked at him. What did you say? That I had been choosing for years. The answer surprised me enough that I believed it. Dad folded his hands on the counter. She asked me why I always assumed you could handle more. I told her, because you always did. And? She said that wasn't an answer. It isn't. I'm beginning to dislike how often both of you are right. Imagine how we feel. He smiled faintly. The rain struck harder against the glass. Dad looked around the apartment again. Did you need the screwdriver? No. The cabinet under your sink is crooked. It closes. I could fix it. No. His face tightened from habit. Then he nodded. All right. That small surrender mattered more than the offer. Why did you really come? I asked. He glanced at the mail. The catalog was addressed to you. Dad. He rubbed both palms against his knees. I came to say I'm sorry. The room seemed to hold still around the words. He faced me fully. You did not cheat on Daniel. Elise knew you didn't, and she lied. I knew the truth when I saw the video. I still asked you to protect her from what she had done. I let you lose things because I assumed you would stay anyway. My eyes filled. Dad's voice shook, but he kept going. I made your dependability into a debt you had to keep paying. I'm sorry, Mara. I looked at the countertop because looking at him was suddenly too difficult. You waited a long time. Yes. I moved. I know. I'm not coming back to handle everything. I know. If Mom misses an appointment, I'm not rearranging my day. All right. If you can't find a document, I will not know where it is. That one may take practice. I'm serious. So am I. I wiped beneath one eye. I'll visit, I said. Planned visits. I'll answer when I can. I'm not disappearing. I didn't come to ask you not to. That was the first part of his apology I trusted completely. He looked toward the coffee maker. Could I have coffee? Yes. I can make it. I know you can. I learned. Then make it. Dad stood carefully. He found the filters without asking and filled the reservoir to the correct line. He used too many grounds, but I did not correct him. While the coffee brewed, he picked up Daniel's new sticky note. Are you two getting back together? We're having coffee. You're having coffee with me. Coffee is doing a lot of work in my life right now. Dad returned the note to the counter. He still loves you. That isn't the only thing that matters. No. I looked at him. You agreed too fast. I'm learning. Painfully. For everyone. My phone lit up with a message from Daniel. Saturday morning? The place near your office? I typed, 10? His answer came immediately. 10. Dad pretended not to notice. He poured 2 cups, carried them to the small table by the window, and sat. I joined him. The coffee was terrible. Dad drank his as if it were fine. I'm getting my knees looked at again, he said. Elise told me. She's taking me. Good. I did not ask if you could. I noticed. We talked about ordinary things. The plant with the brown leaves, Mom's physical therapy, the ridiculous parking fee in my building. Dad did not ask me to compare insurance plans, organize an appointment, or explain his phone. When he finished his coffee, he rinsed his mug and placed it in the dishwasher. At the door, he put on his jacket. Sunday? He asked. I can come from 3 to 5. Your mother will try to feed you. I'll allow it. And if something comes up, call. I may say no. Dad nodded. He did not ask for a key. I handed him the home goods catalog and kept the soup, the screwdriver, and both crooked drawings of houses. Dad stepped into the hallway, then turned back. I love you, he said. There was no task attached to it. I love you too. I closed the door after him and turned the lock. Then I carried the screwdriver to the kitchen drawer, left the crooked cabinet exactly as it was, and sat by my own window while the rain moved west.